Masicka and Tommy Lee Sparta just had the biggest clash we've seen in dancehall in years. And with many hidden references as well as a whole decade's worth of backstory, most people have no idea how this clash even started or what most of these lyrics even mean. But that's why we're here today, to decode the entire thing from top to bottom. Pause, and even reveal the winner at the very end. And of course, there's no better place to start the backstory than where the whole thing started, a couple of months ago at Reggae Sumfest. During Masicka's performance with Joshi, they had a few interesting words to say while on stage.
Me not beg no credit for no boy, no time at all. Me a one boy, more every time. When me say DJ, me don't know what kind of boot that you have on. But me say them no bad like your shoes lace. Them just gonna put out or gonna go. Nobody, none of that.
Of course, since he brought up the word crown, everybody assumed that he was taking shots at Vybz Kartel himself. And knowing the fans of dancehall, of course they took this and ran with it, and thus became the next few months of speculated beef between Masicka and Vybz Kartel.
Vybz Kartel versus Masicka. Masicka need to do a diss song for this cartel.
With media pages reporting on nearly every little move that they did and comparing the two at every chance they got, just itching for them to clash, even though they never officially said they had any problems. That was, however, until a couple of days ago. Tommy Lee Sparta, legendary artist and longtime associate of the Gaza camp, just so happened to be on his live. Except this time, instead of talking like he usually does, he decided that he would let his music speak for itself. Quite literally. Instantly, this clip made the rounds all over social media and had the entire country wondering if they were really hearing correctly. Some people even thought that he meant massacre, as in the actual word, not massacre. It could never be. But the speculation became even more valid when just a few hours later, Masicka would post a random picture on his Instagram story with the song Step On Them by Agent Sasko, which is a Vybz Kartel diss track from 20 years ago in one of his earliest clashes. There was literally nothing else this could mean than he was ready for war. But as the fans were on the edge of their seat with all of their speculations, everything was confirmed just a few hours later when Tommy Lee would randomly upload a music video to his page called Control. And anyone who thought he was beating around the bush before was now sorely mistaken. In the very first lines of the song, Tommy Lee accuses Masicka brawling of having no street credit and coming after real murderers, and says, "Go and go learn some badness and go suck your mother." The first verse then starts off by saying, "Can't run off a ground, never run off a block. No little boy can't give Gaza chat. Be what you be, don't be what you're not, and don't size up with the Don." Saying that he will never run away from a war, and a little boy like Masicka can never war Gaza no time. So he should stop trying to be on Vybz Kartel's level when he knows that he will never be there. He then goes on to say, "Fully seat say you know want your soul. From your this Gaza done, everything I gonna lift up." Saying that Masicka clearly does not like his life if this is really the road he's willing to go down. The song goes on with more general violence, but gets even more disrespectful when Tommy Lee says, "Cologne at Tom Ford, kick off your bitch nose, shred this hood, then ma bust off in her throat, ma turn it back way and clot it here loud, then spit in her face." And while he's degrading Masicka's woman in the worst ways, Masicka will be screaming in the corner saying, "Low my bitch now." All of this to say that his Tom Ford cologne is so strong that it will kick off his girlfriend's nose and cause her to perform the most diabolical acts, while Masicka is helpless to do anything about it. The chorus then delves into a very rock-inspired section saying, "Out of control, we hard for control," which gets pretty catchy before leading up to the most iconic part. "Anyway the big bomber bust, you can't touch the back. It make Masicka look like mosquito." Saying that his weaponry is so effective that it will shred Masicka to bits, making him look like a literal mosquito. After this, yet again, the song continues with more violence and the chorus once more, and then it comes to a close. And of course, as you can imagine, the fans went absolutely insane, losing their minds at the fact that this war was really happening. But you see, this song wasn't really a crazy diss. It's not like it had super insane disrespectful lines, and it only directly mentioned Masicka one time, so people genuinely wondered if Masicka was going to reply. After all, he's pretty much dodged every war for the better part of the last decade. But that all changed when later that day, all fans got a notification in their inbox that made them leap out of their chairs. A red background with a skull on a video titled Masicka Vain. And instantly, every single person clicked on it and the view shot up to the sky. The song starts off by saying, if me say me are the goat, I will for vex. Michael are still the goat in the west. Hey Bob, you are the king, nothing less. A bad way bad, a button press and shot will stitch up on the flesh. Saying that, yo, who can be mad if I say that I'm the goat? I'm supposed to be rooting for myself. Michael Jackson is still the goat in the west and Bob Marley are still the king of Jamaican music. So obviously if you are take it to heart, say me are the goat, that must mean say you just a bad mind me. He then goes on to say, win a demon name sex, Sparta some fish were pre-man and dress. Saying that, yo, he would rather be a crocodile than a demon because demons are infamous for being a bit on the freaky side of things. But then he gets extremely personal when he calls out Tommy Lee's son by name and says, Skirtle, me watch your pussy face father a hurdle. Telling Tommy Lee's son, Skirtle Sparta, that I've watched your father run from me for months. What am I gonna do about this? And it's immediately after this bomb that the beat drops. One crocodile, west side on my son, bullet up a face and spoil up a crown. And this could be a double entendre referring to a crown car, saying that he would shoot it up. But what Masicka is really saying is that whoever is the current king of dancehall, he does not care. He will shoot them in the face, even if that means spoiling up the crown with blood in the process, because he does not care. Sup front Tommy Lee, you will lie down a grung. Bow psycho, you cry to guy pan phone. Referring to an extremely vulnerable moment from Tommy Lee from 11 years ago when he broke down in tears on his prison phone, allegedly crying about some things going down between him and Babs Cartel and fear for his life. With some of the comments ridiculing him and others empathizing with his struggles, saying that the life of crime is no easy task. Masicka then continues saying, you broke like dog little pussy, what you own? Your man lay out years, your career just a drone. And then goes on to assert his financial dominance, saying he bought his mother a house in straight cash, not a loan. He continues to further the narrative of Tommy Lee being a drug addicted junkie by saying, you pop the molly, then you nyam the dolly, shot a cramp your body, rip up the freak in your bone. The song continues with more general violence, but that's when he goes into some of the behind the scenes that even caused the clash in the first place. Masicka says, the boy they at jail and I beg for collab, but the killer never do it cause my sister ya a clone. So perhaps he's saying that because he did not want to do the collab, Tommy Lee has been preying him for that ever since. He then furthers the narrative that Tommy Lee was trying to use him to revive his career by saying, Circle Mobile are still 6 compound, Yenana hits, little bricks run down. Saying that even though Tommy Lee is a Mobile artist, him still nav no forward over there and are still 6 around the ground. He also makes a play on the chorus of Tommy Lee's song by saying, we shot fish but hard for control. Me nana done, I your boss for control. Saying, yo, you are talk about your hard for control, but in reality, you have a done. Me nana done. So right you know, I your boss for control you and tell you for stay in a line cause you pass your place. He then furthers the junkie narrative even more and tells Tommy Lee to stop give the girl them coke cause on a code that. He then brings up some old beef apparently between Tommy Lee and Bounty when he says, you try this Bounty and him take you off a stage little boy down a riverton in front of the crowd. Me no ride man wave, so Masicka walk proud. My little son richer than you, me talk loud. Furthering the narrative that Tommy Lee is apparently broke. So broke that even his little son has more money than him. The verse then continues and eventually he reaches a double entendre when he says, stop the bus right there sir, you are past place. Bad way, when you ball on your last case. Coulda wallet, big fish that, coulda wallet. Little budget, you are live off for your little puppy. And that last line went over many people's heads but sparked a massive chain reaction. Because what Masicka is saying here is that Tommy Lee is so broke that he's having to financially live off of his quote-unquote little puppet. And that description fits nobody other than Skeng. Somebody who has previously tried to clash Masicka in the past, but Masicka did not respond to his song Daybreak. Of course, Skeng did not take too lightly to this and immediately ran out with a response of his own that he has yet to drop at the time of this video. He then continues to get even more disrespectful by saying, shove the totty in your head and it'll do you dirty. Or be a woman pissing on your face, but you're still not lucky. Continuing the narrative of Tommy Lee being a super freak and saying that even if he's a obia woman a pissing on him face, him still unlucky in any situation where him a go war with him. Squeeze the trigger. When the girl them skin out so, you eat dinner. Defend your friend them were dead in the street, nigga. Me see the picture, them a snitch and them a real switcher. Stop dance up yourself. How you feel, stripper? You a bitch where I perform for the free liquor. Either lift off pan a pussy where I pre-sicker. And after this, as the song begins to wrap up, he says these words.
I call a call from jail, a beg man collar. Me hang up the phone, come know ya snake.
Continuing to then diss him some more, tell him to go suck his mother and calling him a licky licky boy. And of course, as you would expect, the fans absolutely lost their minds to an unprecedented degree. This was the first real song in the war, and quite frankly the most effort Masicka has put out in a clash for as long as most of us can even remember. This was really happening and everybody was here for it. People wondered what Tommy Lee could really say in response to all of this. But of course, one thing nobody was going to do was underestimate the capabilities of the Sparta man himself. And the next morning, we all woke up to see a brand new song on Tommy Lee's page called Destroyer. And people, let me just say, this man's vocal performances are some of the best I have ever seen in all of dancehall. His voice literally has the potential to be massive in almost any genre he touches. And at the start of the song, he says in the most angelic voice ever, "You can't be a goat and no murder nothing one time."
You can't be a goat and a murder nothing one time.
But as soon as that angelic intro is done, you better hope you were not deceived, because as soon as the beat drops, he comes in with the most demonic voice ever saying, "Fish and crooks in a swamp, pussy and yam, shit mouth better talk facts, man a real killer and a subs in a song, crocodile nyam them meat in a swamp," saying that Masicka keeps on carrying this narrative about Tommy Lee eating front, but crocodiles are the real meat eaters of the swamp environment. He then goes on to expose some personal financial allegations when he says, "Rich way, and you still a pay loan for your land. Turn fool, cause bailiff a come for your van. Fish and crooks swimming at the same pond," saying that Masicka kept on going on and on about how broke he is. But in reality, not only is he paying loans on his land, but the authorities are confiscating his vehicle because he does not have the money to keep on paying for it. Now, how true is this really? I guess we're just gonna have to wait and find out. The song then gets even harder as the beat drops once more and he says, "Which king? Pussy, Walla can kush. Richer than ooh, little nigga talk up," saying that he wants the crown on his head so bad, but he's gonna end up with a fat concussion instead. He then addresses the broke rumors once more and says, "We have land and dirty money, rich and silent, we not talk enough." He then goes on to say, "Yeah, we pop Molly and we dep on drugs. The freak about me you really can say," saying that yeah, he's very open about his drug use and trying to use that to diss him in a song is not the diss he thinks it is. "Yeah, lame, and that make you get bun," with an ad-lib in the background saying, "Yeah, bakery," exposing that allegedly Masicka's girlfriend cheated on him. But it's after this that he goes into more important matters and addresses the prison video, where he says, "No watch the ballin', a prison style that," implying that the only reason he was crying on the phone was as a strategic move of some kind. Now, is this true? I have no idea. But regardless, it's a pretty smart response, I'll give him that. "If a me did this, moulda make it slide, but from you this one our elder, a time for die," saying that he wouldn't care if he just mentioned him alone, but from you this Vibes Cartel is a problem, which to be honest does play into the narrative that Masicka is going for, calling him just another member of the gang and saying that he's following a Don. But perhaps Tommy Lee has no problem embracing that and continues the narrative of crocodiles eating meat when he says, "You know if I shana, you only nyam the crotch," which refers to the fact that Vibes Cartel publicly exposed Masicka for being in an apparent relationship dealing with Aishana.
And it's a ramping shop. When will you and Aishana ramping stop?
Which is definitely wild considering Masicka's girlfriend has been with him for many years, but we're not going to watch that. He then goes on to get even more personal when he says, "You just bad pon the phone, nigga. Trying to make me buck you on the road, nigga. Me know say your idol a Idonia," accusing Masicka of stealing Idonia's style, perhaps for his deep voice, which is even wilder considering the two had a back and forth many years ago. And he gets even more personal when he says, "Little Ostrat, you know certain code, you know see a climax of your portfolio," bringing in Masicka's baby mother into the equation and saying that she's the one who controls his finances. He goes on to address the drug rumors even more when he says, "Yeah, we pop Molly and yeah, we take drugs. LSD that make me tanso, cause if me ever go sober, me turn in a psycho. You know how we grow, that's why you hype so." And that's when Tommy Lee randomly stops DJing and switches his voice into a white nigga to make fun of Masicka by saying this.
Come on, bro, you know you were free. You lick deep pussy na Amanda body crazy.
No, I have no idea who Dee and Amanda are, but they are probably just as shocked to hear their names in this song as we are. And he continues to expose details about Masicka's past by following up with this.
You know you grew up good 'cause your father have like a cheese. My good old father.
Furthering the narrative that Masicka could not possibly understand his struggle because him not grow or him grow, which for most artists would not be that deep, but because Masicka's entire image is the struggling ghetto youth who made it out of poverty, this is a pretty wild accusation. He then takes even more jabs at Masicka's entire career when he says, "Me a bet a million, say one of your fans them can't sing your song till it done. And then, me see a bag of Tommy Lee everywhere me turn. When me look for see a Masicka, no me no see none." Saying that Tommy Lee has inspired pretty much this entire younger generation of artists from Skeng to Raja Wild to Kraft to anyone who is gothic and sings about demonic activities, while literally nobody is out here trying to copy Masicka. Man a size you, pussy go sit down, teacher head big, you can't fit in him crowd. And ends off the song with an insane flow where he says, "Me rich bad and evil, me no sign to label, me no work for people," pointing out the fact that Masicka is one of the only dancehall artists who has signed to a major international label, Def Jam, calling him a puppet and a slave. You worship crown, house, land and vehicle. Hope so when you're dead, them bury them with you. When me there at prison, and me run the block with the eagle. Member say and me say real friend and bill you. And then ends off the song by saying this.
Suck your mother you. I will be there destroy.
And even after the music stops, not only does he not stop talking, but he addresses how Masicka has turned the war into a freak-off and ends the song with this final line.
I understand about freak things still, cause maybe, you know, say I in your face climax get our name as in.
And just like that, the song comes to a close. And I just want to say that between these two songs, both of them were so astronomically tough, I genuinely feel like round one might be tied. Not only did Tommy Lee accurately respond to everything Masicka said, but he also made his fair share of allegations that no Masicka absolutely has to address. The vocal performance of Tommy Lee was unlike anything I've ever heard from another dancehall artist. But at the same time, Masicka's song was a lot more aggressive and suited for war. Who took the first round is genuinely up to your own interpretation, and really and truly, we're just gonna have to see what round 2 brings to the fray. Maybe even Skeng will shake up the breaking update. Just as I was about to upload this video, Masicka just now dropped another song called Tears, with a cover art that shows crocodiles swarming a crying dead man that is very obviously digging into the narrative of Tommy Lee crying in prison. Let's break this down. Unsurprisingly, the song starts off with a clip from the same video we showed earlier of Tommy Lee crying in jail. Remember, the reason why he was crying is because he was afraid that Vybz Kartel was going to do something to him. Hence why the song starts by saying, "Man trick them and press them. Nyam F. Leroy, we no big friend." Calling Tommy Lee by his real government name and saying, "Yo, ya idiot, you make man trick you and press you." He then accuses him of having no intelligence by saying, "You drugs out, you sense them," and makes the most diabolical accusation of this entire clash so far. "A be a little pickney a frig, you for dead then." And this allegation is no joke. Therefore, if we're gonna further this narrative, I would love to see some actual proof. We no licky licky, not a coffin nor a hearse, un a sicky sicky. Girl say your back now work, Tommy kissy kitty. Furthering the narrative of Tommy Lee being an enjoyer of the meat between the feet. But then Masicka goes on a very interesting tangent, almost as if he's fighting for justice when he says, "Rifle for rifle, title for title. Enough youth on a stifle will fight on a cycle," taking aim at the entire Gaza camp and saying that they've stifled many young talents over the years, which has to do with the many accusations and fallouts of OG members of Gaza that we've heard over the years. What does Masicka know behind the scenes that we don't? He then goes on to say, "Charge up the matic, put it side of my Bible," as if to say, "Yo, you're a demon? Well, guess what? We have God pan for your side." No, Bible and matic, I don't know if it works that way, but this is Jamaica. What do we expect? Shot broke the bone from the giant, where the 9 do, and my name pon the house them, while a man a mine you. Saying that everything Tommy Lee has is because of Vybz Kartel, his Don. Which he further adds on to when he says, "You done style you already, but you return, you have no pride." Referring to, of course, the intro at the start, and saying if Kartel did have you a ball sucker, you're afraid of your life, you really a go back to him? Say you never have no father and you F up as a child. now you a smash little girl, and coca puff up on the side. Bringing back up the kiddie diddler allegations, which again, if this is true, we need some proof because this is insane. And speaking of childhood, he also addresses the claim Tommy Lee made that Masicka did not grow up in a rough environment. He says, grow rough, Walter Maban, them never run the file, and continues with more general violence until he reaches a point where he disses Tommy about something that many people have been complaining about for a while. The fact that many people do not understand him when he talks in his songs. Masicka says, nah here, kaya mumble, and me a listen now for a while. A pussy juice clog up your throat. Me a use the scope there from a mile. Providing a very interesting allegation for Tommy Lee's voice. After this, he goes into Tommy Lee's response about saying that his crying on the phone was just a quote-unquote prison style and it was a strategic move. Come and talk about jail style make we cry? Well, guess what? My dog I run life and I hold it out till him die. As if we say, yo, if you're a real bad man, you're not shaking no time. All if a life you in there for. Pussy, if a gun smoke, a head a fly, we never tell no lie. And if a talent alone, you'd never get a blind. Now this is where we have to take a step back and be real with ourselves here. Tommy Lee have more talent than 99% of dancehall. That is a fact. Just like you, just like Alkaline, just like Cartel, him dede. So let's not pretend like, you hear me? Like, no, we're not doing that. Because Tommy Lee never once said Masicka was not talented. He just said he wasn't the king. Which Masicka actually responds to yet again by saying, if you not believe in a yourself, pussy face, guess what? Me believe say, me are the king, me are the goat. Tell them legend never die. Send him up to Christ. Yeah, good you Leroy. Yeah, play devil in disguise. He also continues the junkie allegations and accuses him of apparently not being able to read. He then goes on to address the part of Tommy Lee's song which accuses him of being in love with materialism. Me no worship vanity, a poverty winner life. So me staying at the Bumbuckler studio every night. And me don't beg no friend in my own zone, alright. Pussy run upon me at the chrome them a strike, emphasizing the fact that he's a hard worker and deserves every single thing he's ever worked for. And segues this into calling Tommy Lee broke once again by saying, yo, calm down DJ, remember say them boy they head light, them now get no show, we not see them on the flight, take some time off, get a book and learn to write. F that, mix some cement, left the stage and return the mic. Suck your mama boy, you think say a girl we fight? The song then continues for about 2 to 3 more minutes of just general violence. And finally as it closes he says, him say him richer than me, but him paying a raise. Man for book you for a cake sale, pussy. Him can't at again if me not hear my name. I aim my aim, and then me clear the flame. Dead. And just like that, the song ends. And I'm not going to lie, many of you are not going to like this, but that song to me was extremely weak. Given the fact that it was 6 minutes long, you would think that he genuinely had something of substance to say. But the whole song was basically just a gun song, and repeating the same narratives that he had been repeating throughout this entire clash, with the only difference being he's now accusing him of loving children, which is insane, sure, but you only mentioned it twice and the song is 6 minutes. What did you spend 6 minutes talking about? Furthermore, the song is called Tears. You had the intro track as Tears and you have the cover art as Tears, yet you only brought up the prison crying thing like twice and added practically no new information. This is stuff that you already said in the last song. So really and truly, I have to wonder why Masicka thought that this song was the best choice to go with. We could say maybe he was rushing, but if you're rushing, why would you make a 6-minute song? Obviously he had the time. I don't know, man, I don't know, but we'll have to see what Tommy Lee comes back with, because I really thought Masicka was going to win, but hey, against talented people, if you get even a little bit complacent, anybody can lose, and that's a fact. Because at the end of the day, as much as Masicka is the bigger hitmaker, we've seen Tommy Lee in war. Masicka and Tommy Lee Sparta have been publicly decimating each other for the whole of Jamaica to see. And the most recent development has been not only Tommy Lee dissing Masicka on his own birthday, wishing death upon his literal children, and craziest of all, bringing Alkaline into the clash, but also Masicka's insanely disrespectful and diabolical response to all of that. But the real question is, from an unbiased perspective, who is currently winning? And what do most of these cryptic, deeply layered lyrics even mean? Well, that's exactly what we're going to explain today, and the very first song in this round of the clash is none other than the insane banger Death Day by Tommy Lee Sparta, the not so happy birthday song about Masicka. The song starts off immediately with Tommy Lee trolling Masicka, singing the song in his own flow, saying, "Ya na killer, ya coward," in the exact same voice as Masicka's biggest song of the past year, Whites. The first verse then starts off by saying, "From them I can box you, you turn idiot. From that, me no see him back," making reference to to a physical altercation that took place between Masicka and fellow artist/producer DeMarco over 10 years ago during their very public beef. And to push this point even more, Tommy Lee uses a hilarious AI clip of Masicka running away from a fight in his music video. He then says, "Me know your style for run out and run in back, plug out and plug in back, no goat is a sheep that," accusing Masicka of starting fights but running away at every chance he gets, dodging wars and clashes with everybody in dancehall. And so he asks, how can you possibly be the GOAT if all you do is run? No man, you have to be a sheep. While showing another AI video of Masicka transforming into a literal sheep. Come and talk about feature, me no need that. Responding to the line where Masicka said Tommy Lee was begging him on the phone for a collaboration and he turned him down. Here, Tommy Lee reminds Masicka that his career is just fine without him and he does not need a feature. It was merely a suggestion. He then also goes on to fire back at the biblical lines Masicka used to speak against Tommy Lee's demon persona when he says, "Oh, the demon for fear you, you know Jesus," and gets even more personal right after when he says, "Backstage when them beat you, me say, no, not do him that. The badness where you speak of, you not mean that." Referring to either the same incident with DeMarco boxing him or another physical altercation Masicka was involved in that we're not aware of. He must say, "Yo, you talk about badness 24/7, but when push come to shove and me have a step in and say, yo, no ease off a Masicka man, him a good youth man, trust him a good youth." So therefore, which badness you really have? Looking at the Glock, you will find hope. Catch her on the table with a suicide note, making reference to one of Masicka's most popular songs, saying that there is absolutely no hope for him to walk away from this alive and he will soon be sitting around the table doing exactly what he talks about in that song. He then goes into the chorus by saying, "Let me tell you what I find out. You're a killer, you're a coward, fixing business fame. Go look how the M16 do him. A 3 killer with 316. You're no killer, fixing business fame. So all who keep secret fame, say them bad, I must dream them a dream." Affirming that any bone of badness in Masicka's body is nothing but a pipe dream to be like the idols you watched growing up. And as such, Tommy Lee will not only be fixing his business very brutally, but also the business of anybody who is on Masicka's side and keeping his secrets. He then wastes no time starting off the second verse by saying, "If you are Billy the Goat, me I go kill it. My murder and a kiddie sport. Artists and me kill the most." Saying that if Masicka is the GOAT, he will dispose of him just as quickly and easily as a farmer or butcher killing billy goats to sell at the shop or make food. And also asserting himself as the man who has killed the most artists in dancehall. Now, is that true? Highly debatable, but you know, we digress. Any badness where they on your brain, bullet pick it out. Him and a nothing but a mosquito were frightened when him see the smoke. Making a funny reference to the fact that he called Masicka a mosquito in the first song and furthering the narrative that Masicka is afraid of any and all confrontation. Because just like a mosquito that runs away from the smoke trucks that the government sends around the country to prevent outbreaks, Masicka is just a mosquito running away from all of the smoke when it comes to other niggas. Talk about rich, but you don't have a thing me no own. Moddens are gonna bring you home, deadly like a kidney stone. Making a direct response to the heavy implications Masicka has been making that Tommy Lee, despite his decade-long career in dancehall, is somehow apparently broke. Saying, "Yo, me have everything what you have," and also making reference to the popular funeral home, Moddens, saying that they will be the ones to take care of him after he's done with this war. Left you up on the ground and cry like one caterpillar. From your DC teacher, man will full you up a cup of that. Further defending the respect of Vybz Kartel and embracing the fact that he does not care what Masicka thinks about their relationship. But here's where things get funny. Bro then says, "A one flow you live in a, you're afraid of property tax." Bringing up Masicka's biggest criticism from the fans, saying that all of his songs sound the same and he only has one flow. And he lives in that one flow so much, you would think he was afraid of property tax the way OM can't move on to our next home. But if you thought this was bad, he goes on to take even more direct shots when he says, "You say you want a war, me I go send a girl for set them up and wet them up like water war. Cannot be the king cause you're nowhere close to Gaza boss. Look how this your nerdy I get murdered by the Sparta boss. You're a coward cause you're afraid for war, the Brata boss." We're in an insane turn of events. He brings Alkaline himself into the conversation, dissing the both of them at the same time when he references the fact that Masicka was so quick to try taking him on for a war, but yet has been dodging Alkaline for years even though he has been subbing him all this time. And even though everybody has been begging for them to clash, including Vybz Kartel himself.
Yeah, the mood I want to see him and Masicka him for them generation. And that's gonna be a good war. Yeah, it would. Because two of them different in the way me and my father did different.
Therefore, despite knowing that this is what everybody wants to see and that there would be a massive opportunity to come from it, he still has not even dared to tread too closely to Alkaline's name, who by the way is also catching a stray in this line because instead of referring to him by name, Tommy Lee calls him the brother boss. A throwback to their beef from 8 years ago when Alkaline was beefing with the entire Gaza camp and released the song Badness It Name, and Tommy Lee responded with the song Not a Badness. He then continues to get even more personal when he brings family into it and says, "Man ever grimy and your badness ever on and off. Him say him son rich, him a got on fish, I'm father fault." Responding to the line when Masicka said that even his little son has more money than him, Tommy Lee is saying that due to Masicka's switchy ways and the love for money and material possessions that he has, he will now pass on that same love for material things to his child and will thus be prone to do questionable things for the dollar. After this, Tommy Lee's trolling gets even more insane when he literally decides, and I kid you not, to start singing the happy birthday song in the middle of the clash. Except when he does it, it's a little bit different. "Yo Masicka, it's your birthday, me I go murder you, pon your birthday, me I go slaughter you, pon your birthday, and me not give is your birthday." Laughing in Masicka's face and disrespecting the very moment he was born onto this earth. Saying that, "Yo, I know that right now you're probably enjoying yourself with your family, spending time with your loved ones, but I will turn this very special moment into one of your final moments instead." The song then continues with more general violence, saying things like, "Every demon ma unleash, high power gun pa repeat," comparing the strength of his high powered rifles to literal demons with the way how they eat flesh and take life with no remorse. And also, "Any boy feel like them bad and then strong, I am an automatic ticking time bomb, and you're not fi suck no pussy fi go down," which is arguably the funniest line thus far, saying that whether Masicka engages in the forbidden eating or not, he will still be going down regardless. Except instead of into a girl's legs, it will be into his very grave itself. He also then questions his very loyalty to his people by saying, "Ya fear me, but your friend them still a look taxi ride." Saying, "Yo, how is it that you're so rich and have time for your war me, but your own friend them still broke and a take taxi? What kind of dog you be?" And as soon as this verse is done, he goes into a highly gruesome image about how Masicka's family will feel when he's done with him. Saying, "Family a stand up over him grave, everybody in tears sing Amazing Grace. Hear the funeral bell a ring, your mother a hold her belly and a shout in pain. Jesus," she said. Bombard, telling Masicka, "For your family's sake, I am the wrong person to do this with." He also disses Masicka for having a 6-minute song when he says, "No see a 6-minute worth of coke song them sing. Come on now bro, stop playing." Saying that instead of dissing him in any substantial way, he spent most of the song talking about his drug usage, which by the way is something I gave Masicka criticism for in the last video. The song then continues with more general violence as he makes references to shooting bullets into a crocodile's gut and calls Masicka a fish one more time by saying, "Bo sit down a chat with girl bo man back. Bun out." Responding directly to the line where Masicka said that a girl told him Tommy Lee's back is not functional and that's why he has to eat the buff. Tommy Lee is saying that there is nothing gayer than you bragging about engaging in sexual conversations about my hood. But this is where things take a dark turn, and I mean even darker than everything we just said before. Tommy Lee crosses a very questionable and scary line when he says, "Pussy, you call my son name, hope you're dead bad. Your kids them catch AIDS, you're dead from cancer." Wishing not only the worst possible fate on Masicka, but his very young children as well. Which I'm not going to lie, wishing death upon kids is a pretty insane thing to do in any context. But I mean, I guess there are no rules in war, so. The song continues with a few more lines and just like that closes off. And you already know that with everything we just discussed, the fans could not contain their absolute excitement. With people losing their minds at every turn, legions of comments arose, reaction videos, reviews, social media posts, and everybody going insane, not at only the disses, but also the fact that Alkaline's name was brought into the equation. And the fans' reactions only got worse as Masicka took longer and longer to reply. A full day passed and still nothing. The suspense was so thick to the point where Tommy Lee took this trolling energy straight into Masicka's inbox and posted a screenshot of him laughing in his face with the caption saying, "The Mascitillion themself easy up," and a text message to him saying, "Say please," as if to say, "Yo, the fun them myself take time, but you have to go beg for mercy if you want that." People found this extremely funny, with even Skeng commenting with a simple laughing emoji. And Tommy Lee urging Masicka once again to reply faster with an even tougher response when he leaves another comment saying, "Na bada come with na trolling now, at Masicka Music." We wondered, had the public perception shifted to Tommy Lee's side? Was Alkaline going to step in the war? And more importantly, how the hell was Masicka going to respond to all of this? Could he even do that? Well, all of these questions were answered last night 48 hours after the Crocodile King's birthday, when he emerged from the depths of his swamp and shocked everybody with a brand new upload, a song called Revelation. And the very second you press play on that song, he starts off by pulling absolutely no punches. When he says, "Killer crash them party, bust them face, clap them party, pop them shortly, one bomb straight into the fish pan, them nasty," taking major disrespectful shots toward the entire Gaza camp, referring to all of them as a bunch of batty enthusiasts and degrading their entire operation to nothing but a fish pan. But right after this is where he gets into a very unexpected turn of events and starts to sing the chorus of the song, "What do them? Me no know a what do them," which is the exact same chorus of a Vybz Kartel song from 2008. And get this, it was a song where he was dissing the entire alliance. For those of you who don't know what this means, the alliance was basically Gaza before Gaza, except instead of Vybz Kartel as the main leader, it was actually Bounty Killer. At the time, Kartel was still new in the game and he was just one of Bounty's underlings. But eventually, as you can tell by the fact that he was dissing them, he eventually broke away from the camp to start his own movement, which is what we all know today as Gaza. Masicka is basically using this chorus to say that just like how you broke away from your boss and the organization, I am now doing the exact same thing with you. And unlike the rest of the puppets in your camp, I will not be a slave. And just like you dissed the entire camp, I'm going to take the song that you used to do that and use it right back in your face. This is essentially Masicka's declaration of war against the entirety of Gaza. He then continues to follow up on that by coming for everybody and saying, "Pussy, we are killer and we not boss. You are fight for room in your boss house. You sweep the yard and Sean walk the dogs out. Nuffy wash the plate them, I saw the yard sort out." Painting a hilarious picture of the true slavery taking place amongst the Gaza camp, where they all gather under Vybz Kartel and do exactly what he says when he says it.
You sweep the yard and Sean walk the dogs out. Nuffy wash the plate them, so the yard.
Funnily enough though, Tommy Lee actually does not get the most disrespectful stray out of this line. He takes a small second to mention Nuffy, one of the main organizers of Sumfest, who is a core member of Vybz Kartel's team and someone who he publicly brawlingly disrespected months ago.
Follow back a boy, enough you chat up your mouth. You waste man, nothing. You have nothing in a life, fool.
This is due to the behind the scenes altercation that made Masicka say that this just might be his last ever Sumfest.
And this might be my last reggae Sumfest, you understand? Because I can't take the style thing, I'm a bad boy. Ready now, Jummy?
And even more disrespectfully than what he said about Nuffy was the disrespect he sent to Sean Storm, which is actually fair enough because Sean Storm was the one who made a whole song dissing Masicka 2 days ago. But Masicka's reply was more hilarious than violent, because really and truly, Sean Storm's song was so trash, Masicka was basically saying, "Yo, this never deserve a reply. Everybody just point and laugh at this absolute clown who serves no purpose other than to walk Vybz Kartel's dogs." Which, hey, if you got this the man first, you must can take it back. Box, ooh, shut a fire all about. All know you can't say you're a snot coke. Which, by the way, I do have to criticize Masicka a bit here because, bro, he literally says he does it. The man don't tell you say him not care. He literally admitted to doing it on the last song and say, yo, if anyway him don't do drugs, him a go turn psycho. But on to better lines, he says, your bank book empty, just like your passport. Saying that not only is Tommy Lee broke, but he also gets no overseas attention, nor does he get bookings like him. Foot a press, a man a drop and that a that. Afraid a ooh, junkie, that a chat. Bust off mouth, pumpy, what a strap. Anywhere in the country was shot a sprat. Now this is where things start to get interesting. In Death Day, there's only one person Tommy Lee said that Masicka was afraid of. Therefore, if he's responding to that and saying, yo, me not afraid of no man, anywhere in a country was shot a sprat, there's only one person he could be calling a sprat. And directly after this, he also says, call my name in the war, you want help. Which really does respond to Tommy Lee's line in a pretty clever way, considering that if he ignored it, he would look like he's afraid. But if he called Alkaline's name, that would probably start a whole nother clash on top of this clash that he's already trying to focus on. He found a way to hit it at just the right angle, and I can actually respect that. But here's where things start to get a bit complicated. When he says, call my name in the war, you want help, directly after that he says, same man will nearly make you kill your ass self. Which makes me wonder if it was really Alkaline he was talking about. Because as far as we know, Cartel is the only one who made Tommy Lee feel that way. But it's very clear that the rest of the lines were talking about Alkaline. So does this mean that there was something behind the scenes between Alkaline and Tommy Lee that we didn't see? Something where Alkaline drove Tommy Lee into a corner? I don't know, but I guess we're just gonna have to wait and find out. Which rich badness and you can't pay your rent? The people them where you owe a come for every cent. Bitch that, a call man phone and a vent. Yo, a which black, which enzyme of strength? Head flick back and every demon want repent. Saying that not only is Tommy Lee being hunted down by people who he owes money, but also making clever wordplay of the demon thing by saying that he will have been begging for God's mercy. Tommy Lee, you no run place, una run left it. Making reference to the fact that Tommy Lee is seen as one of the big artists in Mobe. But because Masicka said in the last song that Mobe is still 6 compound, he must say yo that an a your place that una run left it because you're afraid. Can't say you're bad and man have you upon leash. You don't bad Leroy, you're a bitch. But this is arguably the most insane part of the song that's about to come up, and where things get even darker. People pronounce, anyway we shell it. Two in your head, nobody no call no medic. Say you want my son dead? Earth will shake for that. Them shoot your daughter, go defend it. This line is referring to an altercation that took place about 5 years ago in 2020, when in the area of Flanker, St. James, 3 men were talking and the confrontation got heated. Eventually it escalated into an altercation, and the next thing anyone knew, there was gunfire. This gunfire amongst the individuals led to the shooting of a 9-year-old boy and a 6-year-old girl. The boy died, but the girl was hospitalized, and that girl happened to be none other than the daughter of Tommy Lee Sparta. This is an extremely sad event, and I'm so glad that she survived. And as much as I would say it's insane to bring up in the clash, Tommy Lee did say some indefensible things about Masicka's children. And so Masicka sees this line being crossed, and that's why the very next line he says is, yo, no picnic to the crime, a big man will perish, saying that, yo, regardless of what you may have said about my children, I don't support what happened to your daughter, and you figure defend that. However though, as crazy as all of these lines are, and everybody seems to think it's the toughest thing ever, there is actually information that may render all of what Masicka just said invalid. Because upon doing a bit more research, I saw in the comment section people were saying, yo, Eggman dead long time for the stray bullet what catch Tommy Lee daughter. Tell him again, them never hear. And when I looked this person up, I found a report that said a suspect in the shooting of Tommy Lee Sparta's daughter was reportedly shot and killed. A man referred to as Eggman was shot and killed in Flanker on Monday morning. The incident thought to be a direct retaliation for the shooting on Sunday. So therefore, I don't know, Masicka, it sounds like he defended it. So therefore, I don't really know what the point of that line was. And I saw other comments of people from the area saying that even more people than that dead. But anyways, regardless of all of that, people, please leave the children out of it. There's no need for it to get this far. Back to the actual war between adults though, Masicka responds to the line about keeping secrets when he says, secret for who? Boy, make them come tell it. Man, I live straight, nothing can edit. Pussy, everybody have your business and spread it. Quote, busting on your daddy belly and end it. Your career small, you'd even have 10 hits. Saying that, yo, him no know which secret Tommy Lee I talk about, but even if somebody have a secret for him, make them come tell it, cause him well than know say anything him do straight. And to all nobody have nothing pan him, nothing can even edit. If it look like say him involved in no weirdness. Man say, unlike me, you have everybody a spread your business. And also says that apparently his father was a cokehead, which I mean, I don't know. Tommy Lee said he had no father, so I don't know how Masicka would get that information, but okay. And he then also says your career is small, you'd even have 10 hits. Which, come on, like that's just not true. Like, Masicka, you have more hits than Tommy Lee, bro. Like way more hits, but it's just like Tommy Lee has more than 10 hits, bro. That's why y'all are even on the same level to be clashing in the first place. But then he poses an interesting question. Winner bad in and out, man bad every minute. Your badness careless. All cops know say you bring it. Referring to the fact that in 2021, Tommy Lee was sentenced to 2 years in prison, and he was just recently released in 2023. All for the fact that he was found with an illegal gun. He must say, yo, me and none of my killer them never yet get catch. But you're careless. Nah, man, you're not a real bad man. He also responds to the line about Suicide Note by saying, Suicide Note a big song, me sister ya sing it. Suicide when you see me pussy and a clinic. Me go jam world and ready for shootout. You go up on stage and my name you go sing. Saying that when him and Masicka were in the same place and he was ready for all the smoke, Tommy Lee decided to turn it into some drama thing instead and threw shots his way on the stage instead of actually coming to him in person. Trigger press and a me first spray. Pussy man you be, I sing about happy birthday. Saying that Tommy Lee a sing about some little girl I sing happy birthday in a song when a war this this. Connect, Glocka stitch him up in the worst way. Little demon about tears. Tell your girl pray. Walk him down with the pandem. Survey, man, I take your pay. Saying that despite his entire career and perceived independence, Vybz Kartel is still the one collecting his paychecks. Which he then furthers even more with the final line of the song when he says, in direct reference to one of Tommy Lee's biggest and most played songs of all time, Under Vybz, which plays at every single party every day. You say you're under Vybz still, you know, you're under man for life, you know? Saying that the only Vybz Tommy Lee under is Vybz Kartel. And just like that, the song ends. And I'm not going to lie, despite all the criticism I gave to certain lines, I still think that this is the toughest song Masicka has released this entire clash. As for whether it's tougher than Death Day, I think that it's lyrically harder, but I don't know if it's enough to change the public perception into Masicka's favor, because Tommy Lee is treating this like one big joke. The trolling attitude has really gotten to everybody, and had people seeing Masicka as the guy being pinned up on the ropes fighting for his life to take this seriously. But if you really sit down and meds it, has Tommy Lee actually addressed the claims of him bawling on the phone and how Vybz Kartel is treating him like some kind of puppy? No, he actually hasn't said anything about that. But nobody seems to care purely because he's taking the nonchalant approach, and that is a very powerful thing. So even though this song is low-key better than Death Day from a lyrical perspective, in the eyes of the public, I genuinely don't know if this is enough to make the people view Masicka as the winner. Tommy Lee Sparta has been holding back nothing in his attacks against Masicka over the last few days. But nothing hit harder than the song he dropped last night that did so much damage to Masicka's image that it has the entire internet singing along and wondering if Masicka's career as the new generation dancehall king is over. It got so bad to the point that there is now a whole TikTok trend being started just to make fun of Masicka. And many people are asking themselves, how could this even happen, and what was really in this song to cause all of this? Well, that's what we're here to dissect in full. The song starts off by saying, "Na oddball na kick, them call up. Which new king? A man crowned them a all up," referring to the fact that Masicka has been shying around his disrespect this entire war. Since the start of the clash, Masicka has claimed to be attacking anyone and everyone who's against him, but yet has carefully avoided calling the names of those people think he's afraid of, such as being very careful to not disrespect Vybz Kartel in any of these songs, and also being afraid to call Alkaline's name directly. He also says that Masicka, in his attempt to be a king, is doing nothing but holding up the crown with his hands. Because like he said on the song Destroyer, Vybz Kartel's crown is too big to even fit on Masicka's head. So the only thing he can do is attempt to hold up the crown with his hands and pretend. Which he follows up on in the very next line when he says, "Fans them why you come out of the floor, but from the real goat you got hijack a chorus." Furthering his diss from the last song, Death Day, when he says that Masicka lives in his one flow like he's afraid of property tax. He's saying that the one time he decided to come out of his one flow, he has to steal a chorus from the actual goat just to make it work. Take which program? Boy, me no robot, me no beg friend in a war, you for focus. Telling Masicka that in no way, shape or form was he begging Alkaline for help on his last song. He was simply just pointing out the obvious fact that he was afraid of him because your badness bogus, show me I show you, me this who you afraid for loudo. Because not only did he openly show he's not afraid to diss Alkaline by calling him Brata Boss, but also we need to remember that Tommy Lee has actually stepped up to the plate and clashed Alkaline before. And to make it worse, this was way back in 2016 when he was way more relevant and practically leading dancehall. So if he had the balls to do it then, and Masicka is afraid to do it now, then of course he actually does have every right to call this out. But speaking of callouts, Tommy Lee then goes on to start the first verse by making one of the sickest, most intricate counteractions I have ever seen in a war. You see, if you remember back in the last song, we broke down how Masicka said that Tommy Lee is fighting for a room in Vybz Kartel's house. So much so that Sean Storm walks his dogs, Nuffy washes his plates, and Tommy Lee is so much of a waste man that he sweeps Vybz Kartel's floors. But Masicka made a crucial mistake by assigning that role of having a broom to Tommy Lee. Because bro came right back in this song and says in a brutal flurry of 8 bars back to back, "If you see me with a broom and an a yard a sweep, at the broom where I wave in a ya can a beat. Them broom ya na leaning on a can a jeep. Them broom ya make people afraid a street. Them broom ya you can't tree make neighbor seat. Them broom ya a trouble. harbor beer police. A them broom ya travel we come off a sea. Saying that yo, anyhow you see me with no broom and nothing a sweeping this. His rifles are so long and so intimidating that these are the types of guns that make civilians who watch the news not want to be on the street at nighttime. These brooms that he has cause so much trouble that not only do they harbor extreme attention from the police, but also they can't even be bought locally. They come from off the sea and are specially imported pieces of artillery. And he finishes off that 8-bar section by saying, "Mina laps in a war, me are the war machine." And funnily enough, he is saying all of this while holding a literal mosquito zapper in the music video, furthering the narrative that he's been calling Masicka a mosquito this entire war. But this isn't even close to the worst part. Oh no, because during the course of the music video, as Tommy Lee describes these events, he proceeds to show a clip of him and his friends sweeping, and I kid you not, a pair of Crocs outside of the door with his broom. And as funny as this is on its own, it's actually the ripple effect that's making this so devastating to Masicka's public image. Because not even 12 hours later, an entire TikTok trend developed of people playing the song and sweeping their Crocs outside of their house, showing that the people's favor just might be shifting in a certain direction that's not very favorable to genocide. Gunshot anyway me catch you now wacky dip. Any and grades when me mix pe me mali with. Making reference to the wacky dip dance, a popular Jamaican move that has become heavily tied to one of Masicka's biggest songs ever, Tyrant, because he mentions it in the intro. Tommy Lee is saying that as Masicka leans down to do the wacky dip dance, the very second he comes back up, he will be met with metal and demise. But the next line is what actually replies to many of Masicka's "This is all at once." Henny and grades when me mix for me mali with. Once again, not only openly admitting to his drug use, but also glorifying the extent to which he does it. Laughing at Masicka, who really thinks that dissing him about something that he was always proudly open about is going to get him any points in the clash. But here is where things start to get personal. Shot graze my data, a badness politics. Boy would do that? Disappear, poof, magically. Police are asked for the body for the family. Now, this is referring to the criminal case we broke down in the last video where somebody in the community of Flanker St. James shot Tommy Lee's daughter when she was just 6 years old. And Masicka said in his song Revelations, "Man shot your daughter, go defend that." Tommy Lee replies and says that even though his daughter was shot, not only was it just a graze, but also the situation was a random altercation between multiple people where innocent civilians like his daughter just happened to be caught in the crossfire, and nobody would ever dare do that to him on purpose. And that the incident was just an unfortunate accident of badness politics. But even though it was completely unintentional and the person who did it probably regretted it the second it happened, we still made a brutal example out of him. And just like that, one day he disappeared, and up to now, the police still cannot find a body to show to his family. And of course, if you watched our last breakdown, you would know that all of this is confirmed facts about a guy named Eggman who was a primary suspect in the shooting of that little girl. And in all honesty, he did kind of snitch on himself there, but it was still an amazing response to what Masicka said. And after this, he attempts to discredit Masicka's badness once more by saying, "One bag of cussing and bad off for nothing. The Dan beat you up and your dog are Huggins. 438, new record are running." Saying that not only was Masicka physically beaten by a Don, but after that, he actually ran away. And ran away so fast that he broke Usain Bolt's world record of 9.58 seconds by doing it in just 4.38 seconds. Which for those of you who don't know is the name of Masicka's biggest album, 438. And he immediately followed that up with saying, "Only act bad palm Pro Tool plugin," which is the name of the software that almost every artist and studio uses to record their vocals. Saying that Masicka is only bad when it comes to his fake image on a song. An image so fake that in fact in the very next line he says, "Bait, nobody no hesitate for rush him. Penn for done him, the killers not trust him." Where Tommy Lee is saying that the real killers of Grand Spen, a well-known Jamaican ghetto, do not in any way trust Masicka as anybody of substance. Instead, he is nothing but a little bait, a punk that nobody is afraid to rob, test, or bitch up in any way. Here say maga obey a man, me nah judge him, cause him have a demon and bug him. Saying that apparently he heard a rumor that Masicka was visiting an Obia man, but he actually isn't judging him for it because he understands that he has a demon haunting him night and day, preventing him from having an ounce of peace. And of course, if you've been paying attention, the demon he's referring to is obviously himself. But he actually gets even more demonic when he starts singing the chorus, a catchy and almost creepy kind of nursery rhyme that's making the rounds on social media that goes, "Step, step, step, anywhere you step. death. Anyway, at any hollow point, Maro fly, mother cry, emphasizing that anywhere Masicka goes, he will be found and dealt with swiftly, with no remorse for his mother's emotions. Rise up the war machine for cause a scene, a murder, me light my coal, my heart a freeze. Me show genocide says Sparta dark a theme. Corey, you must buy the goat there off a sheen. Circle the swamp, the cracks them gone back in. The rifle me clot it, part the water theme. Name dropping Masicka's manager Corey Todd and saying, yo Corey, you feel say a client of the goat? I'm machine you buy the goat there. Because he is the fake, rip-off, knockoff version of the actual goat Vibes Cartel. And also, when he pulls up to the swamp and circles it, both Corey, Masicka, and the rest of the Crocs are so scared that they run back in the water. But Tommy Lee is so ruthless that not only will that not stop him, but he will also be shooting his high-powered rifle into the swamp. And because of the extremely high power of the force and ammunition, it will part the water and expose the hiding place of these scared crocodiles. But speaking of people in Masicka's life, he then proceeds to fire one of the most disrespectful strays in the entire war toward none other than Masicka's baby mother Climax, who has apparently been posting on her Instagram stories since she was first name dropped in the song Destroyer, defending herself and Masicka. War get ugly, me no play fear your baby mother jumpy, a big man a war you know, go and go sit down bitch, boxing her away like an insignificant fly with zero importance, and continues dissing her and even her child when he says, me aim for kill and nothing nobody love me and nothing do change on the son still a ton fish. Doubling down on the narrative that due to Masicka's love of material possessions that he will now pass on to his son, he too will be willing to do something strange for a piece of change. And goes on to say that not even these very material possessions can save him from the mental anguish that Tommy Lee has in store for him when he says, business fix, birthday never comfy, demon make your torment in your luxury. Saying that not even on his very birthday where he spent it in his $1 million house and cars was he capable of enjoying it and being happy. No, instead it was spent filled with fears and anxiety of what Tommy Lee Sparta would do to him as the image of Uncle Demon haunted his mind. Mobe a fi me place, show me a ooh for run me. No junkie, go drop in a your ma, Humpty Dumpty. Continuing to reaffirm his badness by saying that Mobe is still his domain, and since Masicka is so confident that he ran away, Tommy Lee is urging and begging that please show me who could have really run me from my place. Ma want you call name and show me right now. Call them, showing his confidence that nothing no go so, and then goes into arguably the most insane emasculation of this entire clash. I coulda wadu dancehall beating stick, beating from everybody where you're beefing with. Lengo fi buy gun, feel him slick, killer them take him money and beat him sick. Saying that Masicka has been physically assaulted by so many different people because nobody, and I mean nobody, is afraid of any potential consequences they could get from doing so because him can't do nothing. So much so that even when one of his very associates was given money to buy guns for him, instead the men took Masicka's money for themselves, beat him senseless and left him to rot. Now I have no clue how true this story is, but if even 1% of it is facts, then that is just crazy. Better you go in a war again. You got dead pon the day where you're born again. You better baptize demons off of them, slowly torture them, hear Javana beg. Calling Masicka by his government name, reducing him to a mere civilian and saying that he would be begging for his life, and continues into a sea of other responses to Masicka's song when he says, "Me done pass forth and start again. Which bank book richer than all of them?" Responding to the constant narrative that Masicka has had for every song that Tommy Lee is allegedly broke, and in Revelation when he said his bank book is empty. And anyway me book no, me a cause problem. Tarrus Riley better in your corner, friend. With that last line being a double entendre on one of Masicka's hit songs, Corner, featuring Tarrus Riley. The song goes into its creepy chorus one more time, and just like that, the song ends. And people, like I said, if you thought the reaction to the other songs was crazy, this song literally has people saying that the war is over and there is no way Masicka can come back from this. Especially since Masicka allegedly said that the last song he dropped was going to be his final song. And to To make matters worse, Tommy Lee continues his trolling even harder because the very next day after the song was posted, he continued to troll Masicka's camp by posting a video on his Instagram of a young Joshish singing his heart out on stage before the fame with the caption, "To all my sexy ladies," and had everybody rolling with laughter. So let me just say this, if Masicka does not reply to this absolute bombshell of a diss, I am sure that his status as the GOAT of this new generation really just might be over. Because this clash is really a life lesson in perception. See, you'd never believe it, but this clash actually started off with Tommy Lee in the lower position because he actually had real dirt on his name. To have direct physical evidence of somebody bawling their eyes out on recording has to be one of the most incriminating and embarrassing things to the image of a bad man. Yet still, despite being the one in this position with concrete evidence against him, Tommy Lee is now winning the public favor. Why? Because no matter what Masicka said about him, he literally continued to not care. He is not taking this seriously at all, while Masicka continues to treat this like a serious war, fighting for his life and respect. Tommy Lee is treating this like nothing more than entertainment, as he continues to troll Masicka at every turn using lyrics, catchy choruses, ad-libs, Instagram story posts, and hilarious comment sections. And guess what? The truth is that as long as you keep the people entertained in the entertainment industry, they literally don't care about anything else. But still, only time will tell in regards to what Masicka will do. And because of how talented he is, I still have faith in him. Masicka and Tommy Lee Sparta have now reached the latest round of their clash, and Masicka has finally chosen to do something that nobody thought he would: brawlingly and openly diss Vybz Kartel. In fact, that appears to be what majority of this song is about. But what exactly did he say, and why is it that this decision may actually be his biggest mistake so far in the clash? Well, to understand this, we need to go to the start of the song. Without even so much as an introduction, the first thing he says is, "Pick up everything and you another man youth, pussy. You are move like Kartel girl," saying that Tommy Lee is trying so hard to be under Vybz Kartel, following his lead, defending him, and picking up all of his own problems onto his head as if he were his own son, and then goes on to further that by saying him a move like Kartel girl, where Masicka is basically saying him and Tommy had no problems before this. The fact that he would jump up and start an entire war just because of what's going on between him and Vybz Kartel is another level of meat riding. Brain jump up, no carnival, blood clot browning, and a Barbie doll, reciting the demon head, go call ya God, making reference to a Browning rifle, saying yo ma have a Browning fear and is not a girl. And when he presses it on the demon's head, he will be so afraid for his life that he will beg to God, the same God he does not serve. Artist box you up, yeah coward, which could either be referring to Vybz Kartel treating him like a bitch, or saying that there was another artist who physically assaulted him behind the scenes. Either way, he doesn't specify and the line ends there, so I'm not really sure what the point of bringing that up was, but whatever. Boy for dead, I from the killer go for that. Me wally glock and bust a face, I saw we hot. No baccarat, a copper shot a spray, making reference to the luxury cologne baccarat, saying that he will make something spray and it won't be cologne. No zappa that, a header chopper AK, the Glockana, referring to the mosquito zapper in Tommy Lee's last music video, saying that unlike Tommy Lee who only has that as a weapon, he has real AKs, and furthering that narrative by saying, "Me killer them no play. Pussy, what you know about Kingston crime? A B, saying that yo, as a mobile man, how you feel talk about Kingston crime and which man down there so don't trust me and who narrate me from who narrate me? What you know about that? What you know about Grand Spin? What you know about none of them places? But here's where things start to get interesting. He follows up that line by saying, Fisher program them, man strength them a walk off, cut off a boy head, and we are not talker. Now who is the man who has been programming this clash from behind the scenes and has not said a word? Well, there's no other than the boss man himself, Vybz Kartel. And in the first line when he said him a move like Kartel girl, that's basically dissing Tommy Lee, but now is the first time he's officially dissed Vybz Kartel directly as a person. And if you thought he was being vague, in the very next line he actually triples down on it by saying, a faggy sharag that, and we say no Sparta, fight my own a war. Massacre, man dem a cuss off her, brawlingly and directly calling Vybz Kartel Fagisha, which from what I've heard is what Mavado called him during their clash back in the day, turning the disrespect up about 5 notches toward the guy who used to be seen as his elder. He then continues to cut the link even further by saying, a fire blood clot steel, this an a water, a friend killer pussy them there, win a harbor, calling Vybz Kartel a friend killer, making reference to either the fact that him and Lizard used to be good, or the fact that in general the incidents that Masicka probably knows about that we don't involve people who were once a part of his own team. Basically saying that Kartel has no loyalty to anyone around him and he does not respect that, which is why he goes on to say the very next line and completely sever any ties they may have had before. Them can't see one side pan no Gaza. Pussy, you fear me like you fear your father. Publicly disassociating himself from the Gaza camp once and for all, and reaffirming the fact that Tommy Lee is doing all of this because he's afraid of him, just like his dad, who is probably Vybz Kartel in this context. Strapping on my palm, my fire can your body gone. Walk up on him, slap it in him face and carry on. And a pillar pop in him head, a shot, the nozzle warm. Making yet another drug reference, which I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like, I'm pretty tired of this. I've already discussed why this is a losing strategy at least 3 to 4 times by now. The man literally did a brag and boast about what kind of pill him pop and how much him mix with him Molly and Henny and all of them things that in the last song. I don't think he cares. Why do we keep doing this? But then I guess he proceeds to respond to some part of Earth Day by saying December 4th, a real goat around me barn. Catch it pan a little stage when it a perform. Which I mean, doesn't really respond to the diss track, but I guess because the birthday thing was significant in this whole war, then he was just saying a goat was born on my birthday, which he's just calling himself the goat. I mean, alright, moving on. Guys, I'm really trying here. Like, I'm really trying. Trust me. Bungs out a brain. From me say guns out a aim. And left blood out a stain. Yo, man, not gonna lie. This is probably the first song in the whole clash I've just read out so many lyrics without having to break them down. Like, I've skipped over a lot of lyrics, bro. This is just general violence. I'm not really hearing any actual disrespect. But finally, we come across at least a little something when he says, gun no run out of flame. Boy run out a place where them say them claim. Which, for the 5th time again, this is Tommy Lee for running out of Mobe when Tommy Bean addressed that in the last song and the man say, yo, show me who capable for run me out of Mobe. Like, why you tell me who? Call them name and we will see. And you just proceed to say the same thing again. So, I mean, I don't really know like what kind of reply this is, but alright, moving on. Again, bust out your head and lend them some fame. Pussy, them a follow back a done, make them fame. Them group up and shoot up same way. I mean, I feel like that was pretty self-explanatory. Blood clot, wild crocodile, no lizard, gun charge, every killer ride side away mad. Which is a fairly decent comparison saying, yo, you feel like say you can't kill me a crocodile, me and a lizard. Of course, for my non-Jamaican viewers, lizard being the guy who Kartel deleted from the world and went to prison for. Masicka is saying, yo, I'm a crocodile nigga, you can't do that with me. And now things actually start to get a bit interesting again when he says, remember you done this bounty, a bounty bring him a road, loyalty not hard. Una soon get this, I just time. Next time una beg me collab, I just who in your head. Making reference to the fact that when he just came into the game, Vybz Kartel was once under the leadership of dancehall legend Bounty Killer. And Bounty is the one who even put him on the map in the first place. Yet still, Vybz Kartel was the same one who turned around and dissed Bounty years later. Masicka is saying that just like he could do that to his own boss, he will be doing that to you. Just like he's doing it to me right now. It's just a matter of time before the same fate reaches you. And then goes on to speak to Kartel directly. Addy dog, look like you're afraid of me. So you send out a fish and him get a body bag. Kill Nyame Lee in the road and brag. A Kartel bitch that, a women zigzag, accusing Vybz Kartel of being afraid of him, so much so that he would send out Tommy Lee, his minion, in order to do his dirty work for him. Which I'm not going to lie, maybe 10-15 years ago that would have been a crazy accusation, but the truth is, current Kartel, I don't know if he could war Masicka, just being realistic. I do think sending out Tommy Lee would have been the right decision, because the worst thing would be for Kartel to embarrass himself in front of everybody. People already have enough criticism about his current songs versus his old work. And then he gets into arguably the funniest part of the song when he sends a random stray to somebody who literally has nothing to do with this. Enough artists me send go retire, enough artists we send for go vlog, making reference to one of his most public beefs and enemies, an artist slash producer named DeMarco, who is now mostly known for his opinions and takes on music rather than actually making music himself. And this is presumably because DeMarco has of course been very vocal about his opinions on the clash since, as Masicka said, he is now a vlogger. He then stops DJing and starts to speak a few more words about how Gaza loves to beg him for strength, and then the song ends. And I just have to say that despite all of the intense pressure on Masicka to deliver with this song after being placed on the ropes by Tommy Lee in Crown Clown and the entire internet turning against him and having all of these massive expectations placed on him to reply to everything in the last diss track, based on everything we just saw and his performance on this song, I can confidently say that he absolutely did not do any of that. This song was the weakest, most boring, substanceless listen of this entire clash. Despite the fact that he finally decided to diss Vybz Kartel, not only were the disses not even that disrespectful, calling him a fish and maybe saying he's disloyal, but my main issue is this song quite literally did not respond to a single thing in all of Crown Clown. In fact, after everything we just talked about in this video, I can't even say that he really dissed Tommy Lee at all. DeMarco got more disrespect in this song than the actual person he's clashing with. And because of this fact, I genuinely, and I cannot believe Masicka has led me to say something like this, but I genuinely do not think Tommy Lee needs to reply. Not because I think he should take the high road and just claim the victory just like that, no. But because there is literally nothing to reply to. There's nothing. What is he gonna say? Right here in this song, Masicka basically forfeited the war. And yes, you finally called Vybz Kartel's name. Cool, people think you're brave. But the only reason you ended up doing this after literally 4 whole songs, mind you, is because there was so much pressure to do so. You even had niggas in the comment section saying, you can hear the fear in his voice when he says Kartel's name. And I'm not saying that that's true, but I am saying that it does not have the same impact that it would have if you had just chosen to do it on your own. Because personally, as far as I'm concerned right now, this clash is over. Right now, I bet a Tommy Lee go reply to Joshi, cause at least his song had something of substance to say. And even though I was extremely bored listening to this song, trying to find anything of substance that could actually be replied to, one thing that just could not stop annoying me was the fact that as much as I have always been a fan of songs like Whites and Mute, and I actually had no issue with Masicka's quote-unquote one flow, after hearing basically the same diss track 4 times in a row with the exact same flow, cadence, beats, and honestly at this point the same lyrics, and damn near not an ounce of creativity, I genuinely feel like I never want to hear this song again. In the last video, I said I believed in Masicka, that even though people are siding against him, he could turn it all around. But this song was an insult to the faith that I had in his ability to do so. Because if you really think about it, Masicka had every advantage and every reason for the public to be on his side. He's the bigger artist, he's the underdog that the system is trying to fight out. 100 man a group up against him. He's never had any dirt on his name, and from the perspective of a fan base, he is younger and more tapped into the new generation who controls all the social media stuff that makes things popular. Tommy Lee is basically an old man to these kids. They would have had no problem bashing him if he was losing the clash. And on top of this, he has actual dirt on his name that can be used against him. And on top of that, unlike Masicka, you could genuinely say he is submitting to Vybz Kartel's leadership for real, like him actually do that. So there are so many things to diss him about. Yet still, despite having all of the advantages of a war in his favor, because of the lack of creativity in this art that he has been dropping, Masicka has lost the public perception and has honestly, and it's so sad to say this, but has honestly demonstrated that maybe, just maybe, he is not capable of defending the crown he sought after so badly. And I am not saying this to hate, I am saying this as a fan who has been let down. I laugh because there are genuinely people who hear me say things like this and think I'm biased toward Tommy Lee Sparta, despite the fact that I have never really sat down to meds Tommy Lee's music outside of when I go to parties. Yet still, you have me saying that this nigga is dog walking you who I actually listen to. And I wouldn't be biased either way because I don't know any of you personally, and Mina love man, I don't care. But I'm just saying, if I had to have leaned to one side, it would have probably been yours, and you let me down. Masicka and Tommy Lee Sparta have been clashing so much they are not giving us even a chance to breathe. With everybody waking up to a brand new 4 songs this morning. The first of which is exposing the entire Gaza system and all of the corrupt things that have been done to its own members. Things that you would not believe, but if you don't know the full backstory, you won't understand. So let's break it down. The song starts off when he says, "Me see them style they already, fully trained, them can't take a pressure, could the flame," saying that Gaza, using their numbers and influence, is in no way, shape or form intimidating to him. He has seen them do this to way too many people to be afraid, and it's laughable that they're doing this now because they simply cannot take the pressure of going against him. Which he follows up by saying, "Group up and them a try take me out. M16 shot a fire to the brain. Grand spent to Portmore as if a putty game," saying that despite the fact that Gaza is trying to group up on him and use numbers, he has a fully automatic M16 rifle designed just for these situations, and the communities Grandspend and Portmore are supporting his decision to do so. "Picture of them crown, a good with him and a foot with him, you shoulda warned them pussy them," saying that not only will he be shooting for the head, but he will be doing so with such accuracy that it will not only be a headshot kill, but it will also hit the crown directly off of his head so that he can take it for himself. But that was just the introduction. Here is where things start to get dark. The first verse starts off by saying, "Hey, I true me say F the system, see them style Lisa Hype and this Kim," making reference to OG Gaza artists Lisa Hype and Gaza Kim, who were once highly ride or die members of the group who would have done any and everything Cartel asked, who did do any and everything Cartel asked, only to come out years later and say that they were done horribly, including Lisa Hype having an explicit picture of herself leaked in a room with Cartel performing throat activities, and even allegations of physical assault from over 15 years ago that she continues to publicly talk about to this day.
Me used to hide where you do me from my family, Adi. Me used to hide where you do me from my family.
Masicka is saying that even after everything these people did for him, he still treated them like they were subhuman, and continues to address the current members of the camp by saying, "I true them licky boy they love bling bling and can't stand up on them own. But this king, a go for your throne. Yeah, we outside risking," saying that despite being aware of all the horrible treatment others endure, including themselves, the only reason that these men are still there is because they are spineless cowards who would do anything for money and a little bit of clout, and cannot stand up on their own without the support of Cartel and the group. But unlike them, Masicka will be going for the throne, which he then follows up by saying, "Yeah, we outside risking," as his way of acknowledging that he's well aware that this whole thing is a risk, possibly even on his life, but it is worth it for his respect and dignity. Gonna load, I me say no nice listening, for the force them, where want me go missing. Adi ask me for song, I'm in a lip sync, and me say dog them have to live, the gun rinsing, making a very big defense of himself over the situation of people accusing him of being ungrateful, when them say, "Yo, Cartel gave you a career with the song, my dog them have to live. Oh, you fear turn against him so." But Masicka is saying that infrared only happened because he was specifically requested to be there. In fact, when he says, "And me say dog them have to live," directly after talking about lip syncing, is he implying that he's the one who came up with that chorus? Boy, only God knows, but that would be a crazy plot twist. But the plot gets even thicker when he says, "Sicka rhymes that pan a track, listen him," pointing even more fingers toward the alleged corruption by shining light on a song that was posted a week ago by ex-Gaza artist Sicka Rhymes, a song called "I Know" that details all of the ways in which he was used and done horribly by Gaza, and follows this up by saying to Tommy Lee that just like everybody else who eventually comes out saying the same thing, "Hey boy Leroy, you a victim." The song then continues, "Man fi bust up on the face and split chin," saying that at this point he doesn't even feel sorry for them. At this point they deserve anything that's coming. But there's one person he doesn't feel that way toward when he says, "Me see ya get away fast, yeah, you slick slim, your career just a blast so, big win," sending props to the one person who was able to get away from the corruption he's talking about, a woman named Gaza Slim, an OG member of the camp from back in the day who now goes by the name Vanessa Bling, and now has an actual career of her own and even still does performances to her fans to this day. He's happy that she was able to somehow break away from the cycle and live a life of her own. He's also making a double entendre on the word slim, saying that she was able to slip through the cracks because of her size. Bad mind, away pussy them drinking, me carry mine and me know what them thinking. Pussy them corrupt, yeah the Gaza ship sinking. Saying all of this to say that their time is up. And with this revolution that Masicka is starting against the Gaza camp, all of the people that they have done wrong in the past will stand alongside him and their reign will soon come to an end. Ghetto youth, big pimpin', wild crocodile, me no inna them sin thing. What that? True me no bleach and green, and me no follow back a boy and in thing? Saying that just like a wild crocodile, he is his own person and has never been the type to take influence from anybody. He asked the question, is it because I didn't bleach my skin like the rest of you? Is it because I didn't smile up to you and every other person I saw? I true me no follow back a man me could not pray so? That's why you no don't like me? Which he then says, yes, that's exactly why. When he says, so them want put a stop on the engine, them want program me, seminar linking. The snake reason with me, you know, so convincing, but man, a bad people, a gun rinsing, saying that they want to stop him from winning so bad that the snake himself, presumably Vybz Kartel, actually pulled him aside one day to have a genuine conversation with him, saying things that were so convincing he wanted to believe them so bad. But in the end, he knows that they were just trying to program him like everybody else and he couldn't allow himself to fall for it. And wherever he had this quote-unquote reasoning with the snake was presumably a show, because he then says, me see the energy from me come at the show, dog. Them boy they no want me go big king. Enough youth them left in the road, dog. We stand up and fight on the system. Which he then says about 3 more times as the chorus, emphasizing his willingness to stand up against the powers that they have created no matter what. But then he asks a diabolical question, so deep that if Kartel was really insecure, this would have to cut deep into his brain. You register king in your name? Oh, so much boy they are complain. A diamond shaggy sell and I never change. Sean Paul toured the world and put the business pan a crane, making a crazy list of name drops and asking the very important question if Vybz Kartel is the only one who is ever allowed to call himself king, as if he's registered that title in his name. Because guess what? As much as you're calling yourself the king of this and that, Shaggy has sold way more records than you ever have, having a literal diamond album. And just for those of you who have no idea what that means or how insane of an accomplishment that is, a gold plaque is awarded to an artist once a song or album sells over 500,000 copies in America. Once it passes 1 million, then it's awarded a platinum certification. And most hit songs, even the big ones that you know by Drake, Kendrick, everybody else, these will reach platinum and this is the farthest they go. But you see, every once in a while, there's a song that gets so big, so astronomically played globally that it's able to go platinum not once, not twice, but over 10 times. And once this happens and a song sells 10 million copies, something very interesting will happen that only ever has been done by a few people in music history. And that is something called a diamond certification. Songs and albums that are the hits of hits, songs like Despacito, See You Again, or Michael Jackson's biggest album, Thriller. In this list of historical icons who have ever sold diamond, Shaggy has a diamond album, something that has only ever been done by one other Jamaican. And of course, that is Bob Marley himself. But just like Shaggy, Masicka then goes on to say that Sean Paul has also sold millions upon millions more records than Vybz Kartel ever has, having 7 platinum songs under his belt with over 1 billion views, collaborations with Beyonce, Sia, and many other world famous acts, and having an album of his own that went triple platinum, which is like 1/3 of diamond. Masicka is saying that Kartel is asserting his dominance over these people when he has not only never achieved a single platinum record in his life, but the only certification he has ever been awarded was the 1 gold plaque he got from Fever. Which, by the way, I understand that that is actually still a very big accomplishment, because unlike Shaggy and Sean Paul, Kartel mostly targeted Jamaica and the Caribbean instead of overseas and still somehow managed to sell gold. However, this is still a very relevant point to bring up in the king conversation, because Masicka is trying to say that guess what? And a one man alone can run dancehall. All of us are goats in our own right, and Shaggy and Sean Paul put the business pan a plane, and them are the only reason why we're even able to tour in certain countries and make money. Therefore, just as you contributed a lot to the genre, so have its other contributors, and honestly, so have I. Which, after explaining this, he then gives a rhetorical question. So after all that, kill enough to lift off the plane and go for what them want. Me see the bigger picture frame. I true me come, you know, them must think say sick a team. Friend killer them there. Man, I watch the flame. Calling Kartel a friend killer once more. Then going into the chorus where he says fight on the system a few more times. times and then starts the second verse with no punches held. Pussy, none of no own dancehall. Are you same one? I've Tommy on the phone a ball. Bringing up the same incident he's been talking about in the clash with Tommy Lee crying for his life, but this time with a much colder, much more layered touch to it. Yes, we knew Tommy Lee cried on the phone, we've been talking about it. But after Masicka has been exposing everything else that's been going on in the Gaza camp, and after we just learned all of those other sad stories, it now puts the situation into a different, much darker light. Like we almost feel sorry for Tommy Lee now, and Masicka isn't even trying to kill him anymore, but instead trying to save him. Any day on see Masicka drop, on the office Gaza fall. Playing a double entendre on the words drop and fall, which essentially mean the same thing but have different meanings in this context. Saying that any day Masicka drops a song, you will see Gaza in ruins. But it could also be a triple entendre with him saying that any day you see Masicka drop, as in die, he will be pulling Gaza right alongside with him. But things get even more interesting with another lore drop, and a direct question straight to Vybz Kartel. Where the youth them will fight it at daytime, we used to dip on Romy Wall, making reference to popular DJ Romy fame and the wall of fame that he apparently has outside of his studio that features a multitude of artists from back in the day. Masicka is asking Kartel a very candid question. What happened to all of those people on the wall, the same people that you started out with? Where are they now? And what did you do to them to pull them down so that they aren't with you now? And pushes this even further by saying, what day am I there at Atlanta? On a left schoolboy in the yard. And I thought schoolboy meant an actual child, but apparently there's a very unknown artist who over a decade ago went by the name of Schoolboy, who was one of the OG members of Gaza that never actually got any commercial success. It was so hard to find anything on this guy that he doesn't even show up when you Google him, but I was able to at least find a few songs. I'm not sure what happened to him in Atlanta or if I even want to know, as Masicka does not expound on what he's talking about, but they appear to have done something very bad that only they would understand. And Masicka is saying that he is not okay with that. Another example of Kartel bringing harm to those around him. Man, a real youth, I'm never fraud. Like them youth, they were swag Gaza hard. Saying that any man who still represents Gaza to that degree after knowing everything he just said is nothing but a fraud. And gets into even more exposure on the business side of things when he says, that's why me say send my blood clot money. Me? No do free work, my lord. Saying that unlike the other Gaza members who have come out and said that Kartel has not paid them appropriately, he absolutely demanded payment for all of his contributions to the catalog, but then goes on to call Kartel a hypocrite in one of the worst possible ways you could be called. The man says, and I quote, boy them a talk about dog for live, a good thing me bad or me that dead like dog. Saying that it is so hypocritical and ironic that one of Kartel's most recognizable choruses is my dog them a for live, when he is the one who is directly responsible, allegedly, for them dying. And follows this up by acknowledging his own vulnerability by saying, good thing me bad or me that dead like dog. Saying that if he wasn't who he was, he would have met the exact same fate as everybody else. Also using wordplay on the word dog. Dead like dog being a popular Jamaican slang being contrasted with Kartel's chorus of my dog them a for live. But speaking of that song, he goes on to address it even further by saying, me never beg a boy song, you know say we hard. A strength man did I give him in a the lonely yard. Saying that he would never beg for a song from anybody. And to any Gaza artist that he helped or collaborated with, he was simply showing them strength in the very lonely place that is their camp. Because if Kartel now look out for them, at least he was going to give them some amount of support. He then says the chorus one more time, fight on the system, fight on the system. And just like that, in a triumphant voice, the song ends. And I just have to say that despite everything we've said about Masicka's performance on the last song, this song was an absolute bombshell. It not only paints an extremely negative light on the Gaza camp, but names specific actions, people and faces that we as the fans can look on and have empathy for. This is like a much better version of what he was attempting to do with the song Wake Up, and if he had dropped this instead, our reactions would have been far different. This song demands an immediate response from Vybz Kartel, but the crazy part is I have no clue if he's actually going to do that. After all, if he really is guilty of any of these things, what could he possibly say? And yes, we still have the very valid criticism of why did he dodge Tommy Lee and not respond to anything in that song. But just 4 hours later, he dropped another song dedicated to just that, called Death Row. Tommy Lee Sparta is uploading songs left and right addressing all of his enemies, including Masicka, but also someone the fans have been waiting to hear him address, Joshi, who put out a well-respected diss track of his own. But as always, if you don't understand the full backstory between these individuals, most of these lines will not make sense, so pay attention. The song starts when he says, "Me see them a cry crocodile tears, 7.62 out my boy face. Gaza, you know say enough of violate," saying that Masicka and the entire clan of the Crocs will be crying crocodile tears and they should have known not to mess with Gaza because, boy, uno coulda hide under crocodile tail. Dead body pan seal. We have dead body pan seal. A scholar lift up when the hollow point blaze. Soul reaper in the place. Saying that no matter where they hide, they will be found and dealt with in the worst ways possible. Which he then follows up by saying, "Anything a dead again. Everything in the gem, the killer fling it in a them. Me no fire in a neck, a shot a fling in a them head. Every nigga get a copper, every bitch a get a lead." Saying that they are so absolutely ruthless that even though a neck shot would kill the person, they don't care. Them a go straight for the headshot. So much so that it's not even just the niggas getting the bullets, all the girl them a get it too. And then he continues this evil narrative by not only threatening them physically, but also going on to threaten them spiritually, where he says, "Every soul me a go capture that and bring it in a hell." But it's after this that he shifts away from the camp and addresses Masicka directly. "Tommy Lee, you killed the youth again. Make we all a reasoning now, Masicka, my friend. Why you love the flow so much? You afraid I did you sell? And everything you drop, we give 0 out of 10. Making a hilarious double entendre about Masicka's quote-unquote one flow, comparing it to the popular service provider flow that supplies at least half of the Jamaican population with cell service. And of course, their only other competitor is Digicel. He also comments on the criticism Masicka has been getting for using this quote-unquote one flow, saying everything you drop will give 0 out of 10, continuing to emphasize his idea that he is in fact the one winning the war in the public's eye. Your weed full up a blem, that the effing up your meds. Give me this, no drink no more, look what you're doing to yourself. Saying that his weed must be mixed with other things because that's the only reason he could be acting so insane to try coming after him and Vybz Kartel. In fact, no, give me the drink, come, give me a drink. I can't watch you do this to yourself, this embarrassing, bro, come on. Which he then follows up by asking a very subliminally disrespectful question. How Foota hype for be an influence? Him not in a sense. And him even know himself, I shana piss in him head. Making reference to the fact that before Masicka ever called Vybz Kartel's name in the clash, one of the main people pushing him to make such a bold move was a popular DJ and selector known as Foota Hype, a very outspoken individual in the Jamaican community who is both loved and hated by many people. And I suppose the list of hate includes Tommy Lee, as he takes this moment to throw some shots at Foota's direction, while also asking Masicka how he could possibly take influence from this guy, who clearly has not an ounce of sense in his brain, and then accuses him of being so much of an eater that he says Aishana, his baby mother, has quote-unquote pissed in his head, contributing to his lack of sense. Coincidentally, earlier in the clash, Tommy Lee brought light to the fact that Masicka and Aishana had actually been intimate for an extended period of time. So name-dropping Foota Hype's baby mother and Masicka's ex-fling into this conversation was definitely no coincidence. But here is where Tommy comes out of drama mode and goes into war mode. He says, "Tell me why you're dodging all the things them mama said about the Dana Huggins, why him beat you and your friends," making reference to the previous song Crown Clown, where all of the fans publicly felt disappointed in Masicka for completely dodging the song and not responding to a single thing he was accused of. Tommy Lee asked Masicka, "Why would you dodge what I said? Obviously I know that it's because it's true and you don't want to admit that, but I'm gonna bring it up again that you got beat by a Don in a place called Huggins because me nah make you escape this. Me want everybody to know what kind of bad man you be, quote-unquote bad man, and if you don't reply then everybody will know why." And then on top of this, he goes on to expose something even wilder when he says, "And tell them what you did, we make the man them trim your head. Cause the badness where you're talking about, me know you're innocent." Now, I don't know about you, but one thing we not gonna ever touch is my head. And so if a man make you cut your hair, especially as a man who been growing it out for years, that is a very serious form of humiliation. Me would rather take the box up. No, trim what? You mad? And again, I don't know if this is true. I don't recall Masicka ever having a shaved head, maybe early in his career. But if this is true, that is madness. And he then goes on to emphasize Masicka's lack of badness in the chorus by saying, "You're a good youth, uno do bad at all. You're a good youth, not a goat, that a fraud. cannot be the king and him taking it to heart. No space in the mag, oh lord. Once again accusing him of being a fraud and not a real goat, but also saying that, bro, you can't be the king. You're literally taking this clash to heart while I'm trolling you. You're trying so hard to be serious while the whole country is turning you into a joke. What kind of king are you and you don't even have a grasp on your public image? And also furthering the narrative that most of this is a jealousy fueled rage because Masicka fails to accept that he cannot be the king. But here is where things start to shift in a different and very unexpected direction. Verse 2 of the song starts and most people did not catch this, but he switches the focus from Masicka and goes straight to somebody else. The born fighter himself, Joshi, when he says, who that I act up? Remember when you did try for bad, you get your vehicle shut up. 6 man in the car, look like Seuna did a lap up. Of course, these shots being thrown at Joshi because of the song he dropped a couple days ago, defending his good friend Masicka and brutally attacking not only Tommy Lee, but Skeng, Gaza, Alkaline, and even Tommy Lee's own son as well. Tommy responds by saying that not only does Joshi need to pipe down, but he needs to remember what happened 2 years ago and remember it well before it happens again. Now, for those of you who didn't know, 2 years ago in the summer of 2023, Joshi and his friends were enjoying their night at a place in Kingston on Constant Spring Road called Marketplace. As they were exiting the place, presumably to go home, out of absolutely nowhere, a large number of men on bikes rode up to their vehicle and opened fire on the entire group. In this absolute massacre of bullets, every single one of the men in the car, 6 people were shot, all but one, and when the dust settled, Joshi himself was the only one to escape without harm. Tommy Lee is not only bringing up this story to call it fruity for have 6 man squeeze up in a one car, but also to say, stop pretending like this life is for you. You're not that guy, pal. Man, I shoot up your car. What kind of style that? And if I'm being completely honest, as a guy reading these lyrics, I just have to say this. You see, if these guys came after Joshi and he actually got shot, then this lyric would make a lot more sense. But bro, the man literally gets shot at by a dozen man and never even get touched one time. If that is not the most gangster shit in the world, I don't know what is. Listen, if 50 Cent can get shot 9 times and be cool for it, I feel like the same thing goes here. Cause yeah, this the man said them shoot off for him, you know. But all of those guys failed to hit their target, and now bro is still walking around free enough to diss you. So I don't really know why that's something to clown him about. But anyway, moving along, he further addresses Joshi by saying, all you niggas buying pussy have your ugly mama cock up. Anyway, me have crocodile for kill. Me not have no time for follow that up. Accusing Joshi of being a late night traveler of the back road environment, and also saying that unlike him, he does not need to pay for the pums because he has Joshi's mother to do all of that work for him. He then cuts Joshi's time short by boxing him away like an insignificant pest and saying, yo, me give a little 4 bars. I'm gonna go back to Masicka now, the actual important artist, so goodbye, and moves right along. Immediately switching back in the next bar, he says, Mosquito no get way, better chance for win the lotto. Remember Jamie box you, make you feel your teeth a rackle? Saying that if Masicka really thinks he was gonna be let off the hook without addressing anything he said and just move on to Vybz Kartel like nothing happened, he has another thing coming. And also attempts to embarrass his masculinity once again when he brings up the incident where Masicka was allegedly boxed so hard that he felt his teeth rattling in his face. He then contrasts that to himself due to the fact that in the last song, Masicka accused him of getting boxed by an artist who he did not name. Tommy Lee says, "Oh, for box me, must be mad that would have rotten in a coffin." Saying, yo, listen, Jamie box you, but me? Any man try that, I feel dead. No questions. You're still a envy over crown. You know see people things are mad you? Once again furthering the narrative that Masicka is nothing but a jealous, bad mind, delusional fool who's tweaking out and madding out over a crown he will never have. Yo, Shane Goat, here, tell me how you feel, bro. Everywhere you look and you say every crack a sweep out, everything a trend and them a turn you in a meme, bro. Now stop stepping on your head until you're weak out. Making reference to the TikTok trend that started after Crown Clown of people sweeping their cracks outside of their doors, symbolizing that they're done with Masicka, and rubbing it in his face that he had lost the public perception after that song, with people making TikTok trends just to mock him. He was genuinely asking, how does it feel to really think you're the GOAT and now you're being made into a laughing stock? And in this next part, Tommy Lee brings out his hilarious side once more when he addresses the claim Masicka has been making that he's been begging him for a feature. He says, tell you this already, say your feature, me no need, bro. Listen to me good and make me tell you who forget, bro. Get a bad rhythm and build a chorus when a thief and take it, shove it right up in your mama full speed, bro. Saying that instead of thinking of giving his feature to Tommy Lee who does not need it, he should find a song, put a chorus that's not stolen from the actual goat, add the feature and then airdrop the song straight into his mother's vagina. After this, he continues his trolling once more with a gruesome threat, and I'm not gonna lie, this next part is actually the most shocking part of this song to me. Doing research to find the next event that Masicka is booked to perform at, and he says this: party on the 14th, yeah, me woulda circle, buy a Glock for your birthday and bring a hearse too, woulda sing Death Day to you in person. And after gearing up to go to the location and meet Masicka fully ready on the day he's supposed to perform, which is in like 2 days mind you, he then reads the full details of the party flyer and changes his mind when he sees where the event will be located. Oh, now bada, location a Cocky Turtle. No messy say you picked the location on purpose, which it's even more insane because I actually thought this was Photoshop, but nope, there is an actual place in St. Martin called Cocky Turtle, and they do in fact have an event on December 14 where Masicka is booked to perform just 2 days from now. It's actually real. Not only is the coincidence beyond insane, but how Tommy Lee even find out about this? And of course, knowing him, he then goes on to take full advantage of this interesting dilemma when he says, when me say your son I got turn fish, I'm very certain the amount of things him daddy been a do behind the curtain. Bringing back up the previous disses he made in the songs when he says Masicka will pass on the Batty gene to his son, who will too swing the other direction. But funnily enough, he goes on to explain why he's been trolling Masicka so hard this whole time, and he says, can't take your badness serious, that's why my papa troll you. Not only making a reference to the kid show, saying that he sees Masicka's quote-unquote badness as some little kiddie thing, but also making an emphasis on the word troll. Because what Tommy is really trying to get across to us is that in no way, shape or form is he even capable of seeing Masicka as a real bad man to take seriously. He's just a little puppy show trying a thing. But just before the song ends, Tommy Lee decides to not only troll Masicka but also us one last time when he says this.
Ayo, reverse this.
When he directly addresses us, the fans, and tells us to go and reverse whatever it was he just said a while ago. Now, if you're wondering why he did that, this is because randomly a couple days ago, somebody just decided to reverse a random part of Death Day and ended up hearing Tommy Lee saying some very, very questionable and honestly very demonic things. And some thought it was an accident, but upon hearing this full clip with all of those nigga, that was no accident. That nigga did that on purpose. And at first I wondered why, because realistically, how were we ever gonna find that out? If that one guy never decided to reverse it for shits and giggles, we would never know that that evil ass shit was in the song. Which makes me think that Tommy Lee's team actually leaked this themselves so that we could talk about it. But funnily enough, I also went on to find out that this was actually not some random coincidence of devil names back to back, but it was actually a reference to a song called Year Zero by the gothic band Ghost, where in the intro they say these exact same words in that same flow and order. So I guess Tommy Lee was just paying homage to his rock influences. Still insane though. But anyways, that does not answer the question of what did he just say to us a while ago in this new song. Well, you're probably not gonna be very happy when you find out. Giving one last troll to not Masicka, but all of us. The song then ends, and I'm not going to lie, with how many things were in this song, how hilarious and creative it was, and how effortlessly he painted the pictures that he wanted us to imagine. If Masicka had not dropped System last night and this was the reply to Wake Up, this would have been the nail in the coffin, guaranteed. But ever since Masicka came with all of that information, Tommy Lee is actually the one who has some questions to answer now, alongside his boss. But to be fair, this song was dropped literally an hour after System with a fully produced music video, which obviously means that they already had the song made and edited and ready to release, but they didn't expect Masicka to drop that night. So of course he can't reply to System if the music video was already made. So I won't take any points off of Tommy Lee for that. But all in all, I am very impressed with the creativity of this song, and because it was not a typical gun song, which I hate hearing in clashes by the way, this is actually probably one of my favorites in the war so far. And honestly, even though Masicka has shifted the focus to the Gaza camp, I don't think he should get a pass to just ignore Tommy Lee. Like, that's craziness. Which is why I'm glad that that is absolutely not what he did, because just 3 hours after this song, Masicka actually dropped another song called Death Row, where he addresses Tommy Lee in full, and hopefully we can finally get some answers. And so if these two are currently neck and neck in war, that song may be the deciding factor. Masicka has been fighting for his life in this clash against Tommy Lee Sparta, and as much as it looked like he was on the ropes and about to fall down, he dropped a song with so much insanity that it changed everything, including exposing Tommy Lee Sparta for some insane allegations, things that need to be addressed right now, like no joke. But in order to understand, of course we need to start from the beginning, and the song starts with an intro where he says, "This too easy, una can't buy out my war pussy, the world don't see what I go," where Masicka alludes to something possibly going on behind the scenes, where he says that he cannot under any circumstances be bought out nor programmed, and that he will not stop because now the world is onto their corrupt system. The verse then starts by saying, "What we do? We bust the 9 them loud, push the violence proud, I saw we silence crowd, wash Sparta, mash up your style them wall," saying that no matter what style or strategy Tommy Lee comes with, he will be ready to mash it up in full. Which pussy for run file in our road, I'm a 9 them loud and we wild and cold. To them man they will sign them soul, you will find them full when the cracks them prowl. Making a direct promise, not a threat, a promise to every man in Gaza, accusing them of having sold their souls and saying that if they were ever to cross paths in real life, it would not end well for them. Then we full of shoes with the right insole, using a popular slang for guns in Jamaica, shoes with bullets being the laces, or in this case the insoles. With this particular verbiage being used because when Vybz Kartel went to prison 14 years ago, it was heavily because of a voice note where he was openly admitting to being involved with quote-unquote shoes. So Masicka is saying, yo Kartel, you're not the only one who have shoes, bro, and for me shoes them have the right insole because of the high power of his ammunition. Thunder strike, you know, a lightning roll. Dan box, ooh, yo, I lie them toll. Your daddy box you till your eye them swole. Responding to the accusation Tommy Lee made in the last song that Masicka was boxed up by somebody named Jamie, as well as a Don from a place called Huggins. Masicka calls Tommy Lee a blatant liar here and saying that he's projecting because he knows the only one getting boxed up with no remorse is him, who gets pimp slapped and bitched up on a regular by his boss Vybz Kartel until his eyes are quote-unquote swole. The Thompson turn on, yeah, we striking goal. The 9 thing loud, change guy's skin tone, coulda call every Dan inside of him phone. Your funeral day foggy writing down, making reference to 2 different types of guns and saying that they will change Tommy Lee's skin color from light skin to copper, the color of his bullets, and saying that even if he were to call every single Dan in his phone, it wouldn't make a difference because his funeral date is still guaranteed, and Foggy aka Vybz Kartel will be the same exact one writing it down. But it's after this that Masicka decides to absolutely demolish any trace of the one flow allegations when he switches up the entire vibe and says, "Quote boss in the brain there, make we flick up your butt, chip up a Glock, lick a Sprite, lift up a chat, nah stop telling us say, where am I sniff up a crack, lift up a strap, with the light switch up a top, pussy, a man write your song, be a shit where you drop," accusing Tommy Lee and potentially all of Gaza of the greatest crime an artist could commit, not having true art, saying that Vybz Kartel is the one who has been writing their songs for them. And to make matters worse, even though they have other people writing their songs, they're still trash. And he goes on to further this narrative in the next line by saying, yo, make Addy write something, make me split up a cat, calling Vybz Kartel by name and pushing him to enter the war, urging him so that he can be dealt with appropriately and properly, referring to him as a cat, either meaning that he's calling him a pussy or he's calling him a bowcat, which in Jamaica is you know, a man who likes to bow into the forbidden valleys. Hey, me a killer when a killer can bitch up at that. A true we young and bad, a true we rich up at that. Sparta side a fish, shut a rip up your block. The go them a taboo a piss up your plot. Dog? bro, making reference to arguably the most popular strip club in all of Kingston, maybe even Jamaica, saying that the Go-Go's, aka strippers, have been sitting down on Tommy Lee's face so much that he ended up getting his plats soaked with pee. An insane picture to paint, but hilarious nonetheless. And speaking of pee, he continues by saying, "Wada beat him at jail till you piss up your block," saying that the wardens in the prison beat Tommy Lee so black and blue, senseless while he was in there, so much so that he pissed up himself in front of the entire block. Now, I don't know if this is true, but even if it is, honestly, from what I do know about prison life, I wouldn't be so quick to judge anybody for what they go through in there. Cause bro, sometimes you could have been the baddest man on the earth. In there is a different ball game. But moving along still, the fish jaw gun, a blank him a clap. Bad people think this, no ramping shop. 4 year now on a damn thing flop. Saying that for over 4 years now, since 2021, Gaza has been nowhere near as relevant as they once were. And without the extremely fortunate of Vybz Kartel coming home from prison to save their careers, they would have been cooked, sauteed, deep fried, and discarded. Then even after that crazy flow switch, he decides to change it one more time when he says,
More, what this, what that, college, call off, vanish, parrot, faggy, cannot help him.
Which, to be honest, I actually don't know what he was saying for some of it, but somebody pointed it out that he was trying to mimic Sean Storm's flow on his current song that's going viral.
Itch, scratch, pitch, punch, kitch, catch, hitch, snatch, hitch, flatch, hitch, latch, me, the boy.
Which I thought was pretty funny and is honestly pretty creative of an idea. He then says, "But this or that, Prezi, Barack, them we collapse, be a shot in our head, king, suck on no matter with on a friend thing. Friend killer," comparing himself to the first ever black president, Barack Obama, who came out on top against all odds, against a corrupt system that was fighting out all black people, and saying that Gaza can go scuba dive expeditiously into their mothers, but them a try friend him up knowing full well say them a friend killer. Why would I want to be friend with you if you kill a friend? Like, me no want dead, like what kind of thing that? And furthers this by saying, "You and your boss is a traitor, a waiter you get with the earth shaker, a vapor you turn pussy, me na shaper, you maker you meet, clappy 38er," saying that he will be waiting outside Tommy Lee's gate with a weapon so strong it will shake the earth, but he fully expects him to turn into vapor and disappear. He then says, "We're greater, we like the game like Sega," making reference to one of the most popular game franchises of all time. "Bad picnic, me bad behavior, and you will see me with it. Call me no cater, me say me full of bullet a hater. Look like Addy Rag run out of data," referring to Tommy Lee extremely disrespectfully as Addy's rag, saying that he is nothing but a disposable item to be used and discarded in the worst ways, and saying that he has run out of data, meaning that he has no more information left on Masicka, therefore he keeps referring to the same things and childishly trolling, but him really not have nothing for say. After this, he proceeds with an insane flow for the rest of the verse, and then goes into the most diabolical accusation of this entire clash. Something that if it were to go further could change the entire tide of how this whole thing plays out. This man said, "Licky licky, lick a demon ton sainta. Lippy lippy, pedophile, pussy them a raper." No, Masicka did make allegations about underage individuals in the first songs of the clash, but this time he's bringing it up with even more conviction, and to be honest, I have no clue how true this is, but based on certain other things we've heard about the women in the camp, I would not be surprised. Lisa Hype was like what, 17 when she come in at the circle, and I never she alone, I'm pretty sure they were all close to the same age. But regardless, these accusations are still wild and do need proof to be substantiated. So if that's the direction Masicka is leading, then this just might get insane, because he actually doubles down in the next line, making it seem like, yo, this isn't some loose accusation, like I actually want to know this is not no clash thing, I actually mean it when I say this. The man say, "Yo, just check the mystery Jamaica, underage girl them want, them na straighter, headshot, baby I lift up on the nature." And I really hope I'm interpreting that last part wrong, because it sounds so nasty, but it's just like, damn. But I think he's saying that they deserve headshots because literal babies are causing their manly nature to rise up, which is again utterly disturbing and demands real proof, or at least to be addressed as soon as possible. You can't have them thing you say about your name a road, which actually puts Kartel under even more pressure to reply, which I guess is what Masicka wants this whole time. He then gives one last suck your mother and the song ends. And I just have to say that this song is easily, by far, without question, the baddest song Masicka has made this entire clash. I do have to wonder what he was waiting for, but maybe he just needed a reason to go all in on these people that he once saw as friends. But hey, nonetheless, better late than never. The song not only addressed some of the relevant things that he was accused of, but destroyed and obliterated all traces of the one flow allegations and put Tommy Lee Sparta on the ropes with a flurry of new allegations of his own. And I'm not going to lie, if Tommy Lee goes another song without addressing that thing about underage individuals, that is crazy. We can't ignore it. Like, how, bro? That's like the worst thing a man can do, you know? So we need answers ASAP. And honestly, after this song, paired with System, the public perception seems to have shifted back into Masicka's favor. But of course, Tommy Lee could not just let that slide. And so just 5 hours after this song was released, despite the fact that he had already dropped the music video for Good Youth that day, Tommy Lee decided to rush back into the studio and make a second song and instantly threw it up as a response to Death Row. And I haven't heard it yet, but what I will say is anything rushed, especially as a response to this bombshell, I don't know if that's gonna go well. But he could prove me wrong, so let's just see. Tommy Lee Sparta has dropped another song to clash Masicka, and as much as I had high hopes for the Spartan initially, upon listening to this song, I think he might have just nuked his chances at the war. But to understand what I mean, of course we're gonna have to start from the top of the song. When the Spartan attack and a joke and a check from a war, then a war Pusiola for dead. Saying that from he chooses to engage in a war and an a joking thing him depon, a serious business. Now normally this would not be a bad line in a clash, but in the very last song, you literally ended it by saying that you can't take Masicka seriously as a bad man, that's why you papa troll him. And you've proceeded to troll on every song, but now all of a sudden another joking thing upon. I thought your whole thing was joking because your opponent is not to be taken seriously. So you take him seriously now? I don't know. But anyways, just a first line. Me not look too deep in that still. Moving along. Body parking a mug at the soul of the tech, watch a demon a turn Billy Goat to a pet. Saying that if Masicka really thinks he's the goat, then he will make sure he's reduced to nothing but a mere domesticated animal. Killer ever chippy, in a head Masicka. Me say you living at the floor, me step in any city. Now this is kind of an interesting double entendre where he says, yo, you're living at the one floor, well guess what, me live in a big city, me can do any flow. And again, it would be good if this was not a response to Death Row, the song where everybody acknowledges Masicka stopped having one flow. If this is the direct reply to Death Row, then this doesn't make sense. We just have to acknowledge that. But again, moving along. Well, a demon sicker than a psycho. What kind of period him in a one cycle? Could have put the rifle them in the Bible, a call for a lord, and the demon still a find you. Saying that Masicka must be on his period to be acting in such a manner, and also that even if he were to combine his rifle power with the power of the Bible itself, it still would not be enough to stop the demon, him, from coming to find Masicka. From your ear that day, when the Spartan a walk, everything dash way. Genocide and a fourth in a king, bad way. Saying that Masicka is no match for the king, Vybz Kartel, to even be compared to him as a quote-unquote foe. They aren't even in the same ballpark. As he continues to question the legitimacy of Masicka's badness once more. We are cry for the soul what we take. Try we been a trying to flip out upon them. Them style we and a try say we love problem. Saying that it was actually Masicka who's the one who started this entire drama the whole time because of his jealousy and bad mind ways. He started all of this beef simply because he wants the crown, yet refuses to take accountability for this and is trying to make it seem like Tommy Lee and Vybz Kartel are the problem. Tommy Lee then goes on to say, I don't like whenever try for the more than sin, which to be honest, I'm not entirely sure what he means, but I can only imagine he's trying to say that while Gaza has done some bad things, it's not like they never tried to do good with their platform. He then goes into a chorus that says, when evil rise, they make me realize, say all of the huff and puff and duffing, them not really about the dark. In a real life, they make the evil rise. All of a sudden, them a act up and still a run like a bitch. Which again, would be tough, you know, like this is not a bad chorus unless it actually sound good, believe me. But that last line when he says, yo, them a act up and still a run like a bitch, run where? You could have said this couple songs are going on, but bro, this is a response to Death Row. Death Row, run? Which part him run go? For the rifle where him use go shot you? Like, me not understand. Bro, Death Row had such a massive impact, it literally turned all of the polls back in Masicka's favor. We cannot pretend like he's running. He's not. Him literally a try put you upon Death Row. He put your picture in the cover art. And if you mean that he tried to change the focus to Vybz Kartel, yes, he did that. But bro, like, after him drop System, he dropped Death Row like 4 hours later. So this, again, that doesn't make sense. And I can't even give you the pass say maybe this song was made before, because you dropped Good Youth in the same night. So yeah, we could have said Good Youth did make before because it did have a music video. But you did not need to drop a second song that night. You chose to do it because Masicka double dropped. So you figured you had to run in the studio and then you came out with this like 5 hours later. That's cool. But why not actually respond to the track? And if this was an old song that you chose to release, why would you listen to Death Row and then think this would be an appropriate reply to drop? I just don't get it. And then he continues by saying, where you run for? Say your badness homegrown. Where you run go? Where is he running? Which part am I run go? I don't get it. But yet he continues even more. You get tired and get slow, get puncture. All of a sudden, you don't feel like run track. Claim say you're calm, claim say you're the dopest, claim say you're the goat and a protest, claim some drugs up and me have no sense. Still, you can't compare to a cokehead. Which actually is a good response because Masicka has been abusing the coke line this entire clash, which everybody has been saying, yo, like, bro, the man being admit saying do drugs. There's no point of bringing this up over and over. But now Tamilia say, yo, even if me I want cokehead, you still can't compare to me. That's a good reply. In a psychopath, in a psycho, you know your life a stall. In a rifle, in a psychopath, you know man psycho dog. If you're so afraid of war, me I go spear you. Psych, man a psycho. Where he refers to the brand Psycho Bunny, saying that he's wearing it while also being a psycho, so he's a psycho in psycho, and says that if Masicka is so afraid of the war, he just might spare him. But then like a true psychopath, he says huh, psych, and kills him anyway. Pretty creative lines, but again, I'm not really hearing any responses to the bombshell of a track we just got. The same thing that we bashed Masicka for when he ignored Crown Clown. You shoulda know say already me not right. You shoulda know say me a devil disciple. Yo, that's a crazy line by the way. You want war the God? You know what this is my Bible. Which religious implications aside, because he probably just means the God of dancehall, that would not be crazy to say if this were another artist. But bro, I thought that you've been trying to say that Vybz Kartel is the main leader of the hierarchy. So what you mean you are the God? Me not understand that. Isn't the whole point of you dissing Masicka because he said that he was the greatest? And this exemplifies my entire problem with this song. It just feels like a bunch of random lyrics that were thrown together with no purpose. Almost like he didn't even try. And at a whopping 1 minute and 50 seconds, that pretty much proves me right. It literally sounds like he just rushed in the studio, said whatever came to his mind and thought that that would be an appropriate song to drop. And you know what? We all drop the ball sometimes. But you tell me say you choose to do it as a response to Death Row? The one song Masicka made where people are not bashing him. And you choose to allow this garbage to leave the confines of the studio as a response? Not only did this song have absolutely zero new information, but it didn't reply to anything that you've been accused of. Bro, the man say you touch Pickney, you know? Pickney. Y'all just not address that? And man, not lie, to how little effort was put into this song, I genuinely believe this is the weakest, worst song of this entire class. Even worse than Wake Up. And you know how much harsh criticism I gave Masicka for that garbage excuse of a Clash song. But he redeemed himself. On the other hand, this is literally a fall from grace because Tommy Lee was doing so well. The man literally had Masicka looking like a puppy show in front of the entire country. Even people who previously listened to Masicka more than Tommy Lee were saying, yo, we don't know what's gonna happen. And the main question I want to know is just why? Why did you feel the need to put this out? There's no award for responding quickly, you know. Nobody can tell an ex-man how for war. Especially if it's going to have your own fans feeling disappointed in you. And you can even check the stats. This is the least viewed, least cared about, least reviewed, least talked about. Bro, nobody cares about this song. Right anyway, come in like me alone I make video about it or nobody not talk about it, bro. And because the song was so weak, just like what I said about Masicka's song Wake Up and how it literally had no information, therefore Tommy Lee did not need to respond in my opinion. I also believe a weak song like this has nothing that can even be responded to. Masicka honestly doesn't even need to say anything. He can leave the war right now. No, seriously, if you think that there's something in this song to reply to, comment it below. I want to hear it. I want to. But what am I gonna say? What am I gonna say? But regardless, what I can say is I don't know what's going to happen next, and neither do any of us. Therefore, all we can do is sit down and watch because comebacks have been made. And Tommy Lee has been performing pretty good up until this point. Therefore, I don't think this is enough to objectively say that he's completely finished. So we're just going to have to see how this whole thing plays out, and again, just appreciate the fact that dancehall is actually active again after a pretty dead year. Masicka dropped a song called System, exposing the entire Gaza camp and all of their corrupt ways. And just as the public was starting to turn against them, Tommy Lee Sparta just now responded with a song of his own of the exact same name. A song filled with so many different replies and questions that he makes the entire audience pre-Masicka as a different human being by the end of it. But of course, to understand in full, we're gonna have to start from the intro where he says, "Oh, that I look sympathy. Me not sorry for no boy, me want kill somebody. In a war and a ball about system. Oh God, in my ball about system." Emphasizing the absolute insanity of the fact that Masicka could really be in the middle of a war, serious big man war, that he instigated and really there look sympathy from people. It's also 100% a psychological tactic that he called the song System, because now when somebody Googles the song, this will show up instead of Masicka's, crushing his intention of trying to turn himself into a victim. And as for the victim narrative itself, Tommy Lee's response to that is, "Me crazy in a war, me not have empathy. When me want the mortgage, me want dead body. Oh God, in my ball bow system." And as soon as this intro ends and the beat drops, he holds no punches when he says, "Desperate and go drop 3 song, a 3 shot in your face. Links them a say, you still a idiot in your place. Either open when the 17 knock in your face. What a dopey figgy trouble, lean back in your grave." Calling Masicka out for dropping System and Death Row in the same night, saying that it was nothing but a laughable, desperate move. And that despite this desperate attempt, Tommy Lee's links are still telling him that the people in Masicka's place still think that he is getting dog walked and taken for an absolute puppy show. But speaking of Masicka's place, he also says, "Afraid for step out, demon there you get. Them a call pastor and I make everybody pray. Rolling calf, them a listen for the chain. Kill you with your own gun. Pow! Whacking on your face." Making an insane reference that only true fans would get when he says, "Kill you with your own gun," and he uses the infamous pow that is in almost every Masicka song.
Kill her with your own gun. Whacking on your face.
Literally killing him with his own gun. Crazy creativity. But here is where things start to get personal. You narrate Idonia, him narrate you. You narrate teacher, him narrate you. And why you coulda do so make everybody hate you? All conscience find out very late too. Say all this time Crocodile was a fake too. Bringing up all of Masicka's past controversies, including the fact that he fell out with his original mentor from 2014, Conscience, who is a legendary artist who has some of the biggest dancehall songs on the earth, who saw the potential in a young Masicka and took him under his wing and helped to build him up. But at some point in their relationship, because Masicka was in conflict with Idonia and Conscience was friends with the both of them, it caused a rift between him and Masicka and their link eventually was cut. Tommy Lee is saying that if Idonia, Conscience and No Cartel, 3 artists who were once your senior and 2 of which literally mentored you and gave you your career, if after all of that none of you guys are good, what could you really be doing to make everybody hate you so much? You must be the problem. And then after opening this line of questioning to the audience, pointing the blame at Masicka, he then attempts to expose a pattern of him painting himself as the victim when he says, "A bass song will have a narrative a paint too. Oh man, I fight you and man, I violate you. I tell lie about system, I try tame you." Saying that it's crazy that after all these fallouts with all of these different people, you have so many songs painting yourself as the victim. And now what you're doing is no different from that. And Tommy Lee emphasizes that it's a lie that the system is trying to fight him, because in reality he was one of the people benefiting. Slam the Draco, man a bury like a potato. Real badness and a sitting where you relate to. Gaza legacy and a sitting where you're near to. So no fine excuse when the demon a slay you. Once again calling out Masicka for having no street credit and saying that the legacy of Vybz Kartel far surpasses anything he has ever accomplished in his career. Therefore it should not surprise him that he's currently getting destroyed, so nobody try find an excuse when the demon a slay you. Full of ego, make the media bait you. Saying that Masicka is so full of ego that he's weak enough to be baited into making foolish war decisions by listening to people like Foota Hype and other vloggers sharing their opinions. Masicka, are you watching this right now? Well, if you are, I just want to say that if this is true, you probably should not be listening to people on YouTube who have an incentive of views to be as inflammatory as possible. These instigators, especially if they are biased, will set you up for failure. But anyways, he then continues by saying, "You get the help, a true you did a crave for, but you don't know your limit cause you crave brave, making reference to the fact that since Joshi joined the war, Masicka finally got the help that he's been begging for since he knows he cannot manage to war the demon on his own. But because he is too craven, he does not know the limits on just how much help he can and should be getting, and so eventually it started to backfire, with many people now saying that Joshi is only warring with himself and nobody now meds him. Tommy Lee then says that to make such a rookie mistake, Masicka clearly has no street smarts and is delicate like a tomato. After this, he repeats the chorus again, emphasizing that he does not care for sympathy and clowning Masicka for bawling about the system. But then as the second verse starts, he gets directly responding word for word to Masicka's song. You know want Sean Crown, you know want Shaggy Crown. A what flying on your head make you want Addy Crown? Give me the Beretta, make me turn it pan a clown. Boy goodly all a pre-Bob Marley now. Directly referencing Masicka's verses in System when he asks Vybz Kartel if he's the only one allowed to call himself king, and how that makes no sense when Shaggy and Sean Paul have sold way more records internationally than he ever has. Tommy Lee responds to this by saying, yo, if you can acknowledge Sean Paul and Shaggy as kings, how come you never did want to go for their crown? How comes you never tried to take them on as competition, but all of a sudden you say, Addy, your mentor's crown and you want to take it? Which he then follows up by saying, you dirty mind and people are fine out. That statement that what Joshi did make is something where them talk and it show. Calling Masicka an even more ungrateful bad mind person by making reference to the statement that started this entire war to begin with. Joshi's words on Sumfest Stage 2025 saying that Masicka is the new king of dancehall. And if you watch the first video I made on how this war started, you would know that after that clip went viral, the rest of the war was history. But the thing is, after that clip went viral, Masicka came out to clear the air and say, yo, I would never diss Vybz Kartel. That's not what we were trying to do. My friend Joshi was just bigging me up, and of course we were in the moment, in the vibe. It just happened. It's not that serious. Tommy Lee is saying, yeah, you guys tried to pass it off as just a slip of the moment, probably some liquor, and just being under vibes, no pun intended. But no, we can really see that it was something you guys have clearly been talking about behind the scenes from a long time. A long time, you bad mind the teacher, your own mentor, and your dirty ways them a show. You want war, but when the war start, you see beer shot of fire when you see the war hard. Saying that you claim to want conflict, but you lack the real heart of war for when it actually goes down. And no, Masicka, you don't have what it takes to handle all of these shots. You're not built like me or the rest of us real G's. You're desperate, no one a draw card. Saying that he does not appreciate or respect any desperate attempts to pull a fast one. Any random cards he drew out of his shoes at the last minute. Drop song back a song, you know see a false start. Referring to Masicka's 2 songs dropped back to back as the desperately drawn card. Saying that, yo, it's almost as if you false started in the race and you needed a second song to be your actual reply. Now, to be fair, I don't agree with this mentality, because Tommy Lee would be right if they were both disses toward him, but both songs are about completely different things and people. System was about Vybz Kartel and Gaza, while Death Row was about you. It's perfectly valid to drop 2 songs against 2 different people, especially when you have so many enemies coming at you alone. Which, by the way, considering Death Row was about you directly, I am still waiting to hear the response for that, because I refuse to believe Evil Rise was it. That song could never, no, me I wait for the next Tommy Lee song. That could never be it. Because right now, I'm still waiting on him to address the allegations of him a touch picnic, because that is crazy. Like how Masicka dodged the line about him a get boxed up by the Don, you cannot skedaddle past that. Craziness. But this is a reply to System, so we'll just wait for your next song and see what happens. No own dancehall. Suck your mother. I want make you come a ball. Man, I embarrass you and everybody start laughing. And Roberta call us when you say hardball. Making an OG reference to one of Masicka's earliest songs, Hardball, where the chorus sings about famous footballer Roberto Carlos. And also point out that Masicka should go suck his mother because neither him nor his friends own dancehall. And then proceeds to ask why he's crying like a baby, and rubs it in his face that he's getting embarrassed and taken for a laughing stock on a daily basis. But then he really digs into the narrative of Masicka crying about a system he has never suffered from when he says, hey Masicka, you ever get banned yet and can't go certain island yet? Police ever take you off a stage show when the fans them are raid and carry you go a station yet? So where the fight there where Jevan Fear and I get? Which part of there? No, like, which one did it? With Tommy Lee making reference to the fact that he was banned from performing in Dominica in 2014 due to his quote-unquote worship of Satan, and also the fact that he was prevented from performing at Sumfest in 2015 due to gang violence and potential threats of safety. He is saying that never in Masicka's life has he ever had to go through anything like this because he's always been the golden boy, the underdog, the upcoming youth everybody wants to see win, and has never had to face a shred of the adversity that him, Vybz Kartel, and other actual controversial figures in the game have had to endure. Which brings him to his main point. You never face what we face upon the conquest, and you don't say none of it there so a complain. True, you're losing the lyrical contest, so how you are look sympathy, saying that the only reason Masicka suddenly has all of these issues with the system is because now he's losing, when all these years he's done nothing but benefit and rise to the top of the game with that very same system. So much so that people had him as a contender for king, but now he's some kind of victim, basically furthering the narrative that has been circling online that really and truly, why would we listen to Masicka saying all of this stuff now when you knew about all of this from a long time? You were friends with all these guys until a couple months ago. And immediately after posing all of these questions to the audience, Tommy Lee repeats the chorus one more time and the song ends. And I just have to say that after Tommy Lee dropped the ball expeditiously with his last song, this redeemed him 100%. This song was not only extremely creative but dug deep, with even the very title of the song having a meaning. Tommy Lee paints a picture that begs the audience to question not only Masicka's character as a human being, making us wonder why he's really had so many failed relationships with his mentors, why all of this is now suddenly a problem, and if he's really just an ungrateful bad mind nigga for real. And yes, for all of the hardcore Decoded fans out there who have been watching the videos, you would know that this still technically did not address certain things in system, because if you really meds it, not once did he actually deny anything about Vybz Kartel being an abusive boss or even a friend killer. But if we're going to be fair, that's not actually Tommy Lee's job to address. He did his part and spoke on what concerns him, and the only one responsible to clear up the rest of the rumors of corruption in his house is Vybz Kartel himself. But until then, I would say Tommy Lee did his job, and after Death Row, this song probably honestly puts them right back at neck and neck, which means that the next song Masicka drops will be crucial. And of course, I really hope he doesn't rush it, because we've all seen what happens when you rush a song in a clash. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the clash is officially over. After everything we just saw, who do we think won? Well, I will be doing a dedicated video for that specifically, but as for right now, all we can go off of are the public opinions. And so we have two sources of data right now that we'll be using to collect this information. The first one is a survey done by none other than the organizer, Terodon, and the second one is a survey done by you guys, my own fans. Keep in mind, Tero has been supportive of both artists throughout this clash, and when he's made videos on both artists, they both got equal amounts of views. Therefore, his own personal opinions have not been influencing this poll. But as we can clearly see, out of 41,000 people, the majority have chosen Tommy Lee Sparta as the winner, coming in at 60%, with the fans in the comments saying that every poll they see, Tommy Lee is winning. And so I decided to do a poll of my own, and it's only been about 5 hours, so only about 2.5k of you guys have given your opinions. However, in that short amount of time, almost 70% of our audience has decided that Tommy Lee is the winner, with the comments heavily defending this decision. But why is it so overwhelming? Some people think that it's the bias of the Gaza fans and that everybody's just teaming up against Masicka, but I actually beg to differ. Listen, I know that the Gaza stimulus package is strong, but looking at Sean Storm's career, I really don't think it's as strong as you're making it out to be. Tommy Lee is popular, but we can't pretend like Masicka is not literally artist of the year. The man is the hottest person right now, period. And like I've said before, since this new generation of youth objectively across the board listen to Masicka far more than Tommy Lee, I do believe that he started this clash with the victory in the palm of his hands. Again, I am saying this as one of those youth. I listen to Masicka 100 times more than Tommy Lee, yet still, whether because of a lack of creativity, pure monotony, or perhaps holding back for whatever reason, he managed to lose the public perception. And as Tommy Lee continued to make fun of him, clown him, and absolutely dog walk him for like 5 rounds straight, even if Masicka's songs were good from the the standpoint that you can sit down and listen to them, it makes perfect sense why people think Tommy Lee was just a more disrespectful person. And at the end of the day, that's what diss tracks are about, disrespect. Both of them are good artists, but when it comes to making fun of the other person, there is just no way that you can be surprised that Masicka did not win in the eyes of the public. But that doesn't mean he did nothing at all, because like I said, I will be making a dedicated video to who won the clash based on what metrics. So subscribe to the channel for when that drops. Anybody who made it this far in the video, that's real commitment for real, and I appreciate you to the depths of the earth. For any new watchers, subscribe to the channel for more high quality content on a regular. And as always, the dance hall has been decoded.